Going? What's up? Cognitive, what's going on with you? Storm Ready, what's up with you as well too? We're gonna let some of our people come up in here, and we're gonna get things rolling. We're gonna be talking about Dr. William Darity. He was recently had an article, and he was talking about the actual Cali and New York reparations, and saying that he felt that the actual efforts on the federal and local level were actually counterproductive. So we're gonna be discussing that tonight. Our federal, state, local level reparations counterproductive to the actual to the actual federal programs. So we're gonna be discussing that. I expect a pretty nice space tonight slash podcast. Shout out to my people over there in YouTube. For all my people coming in YouTube, guys, you already know the title. Top economist Dr. Darity says California and New York reparations are counterproductive. Definitely go ahead, guys, and make sure you go ahead and click that notification bell. Click the notification bell. Go ahead and like tonight's broadcast and share it as well, too. Definitely leave a comment. I definitely want to see what people have to say tonight about tonight's broadcast as well, too. So shout out to everybody coming up in the space tonight. Shout out to all you guys that's going to be up in here. What's up, Nightfall? I see you over there in the YouTube world, and we're gonna be getting it cracking. We're gonna go ahead and let some of our people slide up in here. I definitely want to hear a lot of comments, and I definitely put that article. The article is up in the actual jumbotron. It's also over there on YouTube as well, too, guys. So it's up in the description. Definitely go ahead and check it out. So we're gonna be going ahead and we're gonna be discussing this situation tonight. I want to hear what everybody's got to say. If you read some of the comments on YouTube, not YouTube, but X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it, there's been a number of people that disagree with what Dr. Darity said, and a number of people that actually agree with what he said. So, I definitely want to hear what people have to say, what they think about it. He is definitely well respected. The man is one of the top economists in the entire country. So, and he's also a professor at Duke University. Duke is damn near Ivy League school. So, he's he has the expertise. He has his opinion as well, too. Nightfall, you said counterproductive to what? Oh, Lord. Nightfall, you wild. And I see the comment there, too. So, hey, we're going to get it in, man. We are going to get it in. Counterproductive to what? His next date. I'm just saying his next date because I see what Nightfall put up there. I don't know. And she said, expect a lot of comments with the Dr. Darity. We'll see. We'll see how it is and whatnot. Let me check with my people. Cognitive, can you hear me okay? Can you and Storm Ready, can you guys hear me pretty good in the space? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if the audio and everything, the sound is pretty good up here. If you guys can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Okay, Cognitive say, everything is good. Everything is good. Like I said, and I want to see what our people got to say as well, too, Cognitive. I know occasionally you come up here and you'll drop a little jewel here or there. So if you definitely want to discuss this tonight as well, too, I definitely want to see. And I want my people over there in YouTube, all my people over there in YouTube, drop some comments as well, too, because I'm going to read the comments that you guys leave in the chat. I'm going to read it to our actual YouTube people over here as well, too, to our Twitter X people over here as well, too. So, DJ, you get a chance, come through over here on YouTube, not YouTube, but damn, Twitter as well too. When you get a chance, DJ, make your rounds over here. Also over here in the Twitter realm as well too. But let me go ahead, man, and get this thing rolling. Get it rolling. And once again, this is from our curation partner, the Neo Jim Crow. So I'm going to go ahead and touch up on this article. And like I said, our people, as they come in, we can discuss this. We can talk about it. Like I said, I want to hear what you guys got to say as well, too. So Nightfall, you do a great job of supplying comments as well, too. So definitely keep them coming, and we're going to read them for the actual space as well, too. It says California, New York reparation efforts are counterproductive. A federal program is best, expert says. Efforts at the state and local levels to compensate descendants of enslaved people with reparations are counterproductive. A leading reparations scholar said because they fall short of what a federal program could accomplish. Meanwhile, the total cost of such federal program continues to rise, said William Sandy Darity, an economist and professor of public policy at Duke University. A nationwide plan to close the federal racial wealth gap would now cost somewhere in the range of $16 trillion, up from an estimate last year of $14 trillion, Darity said. The longer we wait, the larger the bill get, Darity told the market watching an interview on the sidelines of the American Economics Association annual conference held in San Antonio. About 30% of U.S. adults support reparations for descendants of enslaved people, according to a Pew Research poll. Proponents of reparations say the descendants of enslaved people are owed compensation for the legacy of slavery, Jim Crow era racial segregation, Black property loss, and discriminatory public policy that systematically prevented Black Americans from creating wealth. There's considerable debate on the scope, size, eligibility criteria, and forms of compensation involved, and proposals have spanned a wide range of approaches, including housing grants, direct payments, business loans, and a national apology. The median wealth of a typical white family was $285,000 in 2022, according to the latest Federal Reserve data released last fall. By comparison, the median wealth among Black families was only $44,900. A handful of states are considering reparations for eligible residents, and reparation efforts have also gained traction in several cities. After 2 years of work, California's First in the Nation Task Force last summer issued a more than 1,000-page report recommending monetary compensation for the descendants of enslaved people for health harms, housing discrimination, and discriminatory policing, among other policy proposals. State lawmakers are now expected to debate legislation informed by the recommendations. Darity was among several economists and policy experts who served as a consultant for California's task force. New York Governor Kathy Hochul also signed legislation last month to create a commission to study potential reparations, while Illinois formed a commission early in 2023 to research reparations and present best practices to lawmakers. Darity, however, said he thinks the state and local government's effort is a piecemeal. Each program will have different eligibility standards, he said, and what gets paid out will give wildly different outcomes to recipients based upon where they live. If reparation programs are left up to the states and localities, there will be communities that do nothing at all, he added, and opponents will use such efforts to argue against a nationwide program. What's more, states cannot afford to finance the elimination of the racial wealth gap on their own, Darity said. He estimated that the combined budgets of all state and local governments total less than $5 trillion. I feel very strongly that this is necessarily a federal project, Darity said. The Economist said he would support a local effort only in Washington, D.C., because the federal district can make an appeal for restitution directly to the federal government. This could establish a precedent on a nationwide basis, he said. About 30% of U.S. adults support reparations for descendants of enslaved people, according to Pew Research Center poll conducted in October 2021, including 77% of Black respondents and 18% of white respondents. A separate University of Massachusetts poll conducted early in 2023 found 36% overall support for reparations, including 74% of Black respondents and 28% of white respondents. For such a program to have a realistic chance of becoming law, Darity added, there would have to be a very different Congress. Shout out to everybody up in the space as well, too. DJ, I see you up in the space. I don't know if you're actually up here, so I'm gonna send you the actual co-host invite. If you get it, go ahead and definitely go ahead and accept it. It seems like what Dr. Darity is saying, that because of the unpredictability of local, federal, and state government, he's saying that, basically some people won't get it at all, and the amounts that people will get will be so widely different. And I think that's the reason why he's saying that he pretty much opposes it, that it has to come from the actual federal government. That way, if it comes from the federal government, I guess he believes that you can go ahead and have one set amount for everybody as well, too, and you don't have to worry about all these varying amounts. I still feel personally, and I get what he's saying, and I respect what he's saying, too, because the man is an expert, but I feel personally that, state, local, all of them went ahead and they all profited off of slavery. So, even though I get what he's saying, I understand what he's saying, I'm not disagreeing. The man is an economist, and he's done a lot to actual, to further the actual discussion for reparations. But I mean, I get what he's saying too, that the states don't have the actual, He's just going by the actual the budgets and everything else, that they don't have the actual money. Because I think it was something we said all together, when you add up what they had, it was something like $5 trillion, which we know won't be enough. He was saying if you estimated the combined budgets of all state and local governments, they total less than $5 trillion. Of course, we know he also went up on his actual number of the amount of money. Last year it was 14 trillion. This year he's saying now it's 16 trillion. So I guess every year passing is going to continue to go up and up and up and up and up and up and up. So who knows next year exactly how much that could be. If he's at 16 trillion this year, then I would assume in 2025 it would be 18. So the longer the actual debt goes unpaid, the more interest that gets tacked on, the the greater the debt's going to be for the United States as well to go ahead and pay up. But like I say, Dr. Darity, he is an expert. He is an actual he is somebody that's I see Nightfall. He's saying he's full of it. If a stimulus check can be cut as a specific amount, then don't give us this mess about pay disparity. Nightfall also says our reparations isn't up to an opinion poll. Cut the check. Nightfall also says he doesn't want reparations because he and his Boule brothers would no longer be economically exceptional anymore. So let me ask you this right here, Nightfall. And I know you got to type this in, and I get what you're saying. And like I say, and people that want to come up and speak as well too, come up and speak. But I mean, you in your opinion, Nightfall, and my man Nightfall, for those listening to Twitter Space, he's on YouTube. He's one of our main listeners. He goes back and forth between YouTube and Twitter. So Nightfall, in your opinion, you don't believe that with the work that Dr. Darity's putting in, you don't think that he actually wants reparations to take place? I mean, you just think this is pretty much just a big production on his end? Because I get what you're saying. You're saying that, hey, he gets, if we actually get paid the money, then he's no longer, I guess, the big dog. He's no longer this exceptional great mind or whatever. But I don't think he's against the reparations. Now you could make an argument that he feels that his way about going it could be the only way. So that we know a lot of times when we have issues like that, people feel a certain way that, hey, my way is the best way, and sometimes people feel my way is the only way. So that's the only thing that I could think of at this point in time, that he would say, hey, you know what? I did the work. I broke down the numbers, crunched the numbers. I did the research. I did this. I did that. And this is the only way that it'll be effective, and the only way that it can work. DJ, Dr. Darity, what did he say last year that the average Black person should get for reparations? It was something like, what, 350,000, 370 some thousand, something like that.
That's correct. What's good, everybody? Let's start up, share the room out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know it was something in that line. Now, I think he's actually saying that the actual amount has gone up $2 trillion now. So we jumped from last year 14 trillion. Now we're at 16 trillion. So, like I say, that number has jumped $2 trillion. That's a lot of money, and this space, I wish we could have got Dr. Darity in it, but I just made this space up last night, and he's a very busy man. And I'm sure if he had a chance to come up in the space, he could maybe explain it to us, his reasoning, his rationale for, why he believes that, basically that you have all of these other people, the state and the actual local levels are actually, pretty much not the way to go. So, he's not in the space. So we're going to just, we're going to conversate and we're going to discuss it. But, I'm pretty sure he has his rationale for what he believes to be the most effective way of doing this. One thing about reparations, and I agree with what you say to a certain degree, Nightfall, like you said, the stimulus checks, they were all cut out at a certain thing, but the stimulus checks also, that was also something from the federal government as well too. So I guess that's what he's trying to say as well too. Like, as we talk about the stimulus checks, that that's something federal, but this is something else. I see my girl No Taxations up in here as well too. Shout out to Aunt Lai. Shout out to Shannon. I see Mel up in the space. Goddess. What's up, Jess Cakes? You had you came up here, but then you dropped down. So I don't know if you got something to do right now. I know you may have a little one, but I definitely shout out to you, sister. I see you up in the space. So we'll definitely when you get a chance to, I think she might be back up here. Go ahead, Jess Cakes. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Newstoter. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hey, what's up, sister?
Oh, nothing. As far as the amount study going up, I could see that because with the inflation and everything else, it only makes sense. The original numbers that was coming in seem kind of low, considering that we factor in a debt from pre, during slavery. Consider everything that the dollar's been through and stuff like that. Yeah, I still think maybe 16 trillion even might be too low. But considering that all these cities too are spending all the, not to always bring it to the illegals, but we into the trillions right now. What we're spending on the illegals nationwide, what we're spending on this side of the border and on the other side to bring them here, because we know it's a operation from within. So we well into the trillions of what we're spending. We spent trillions in Israel. We've spent trillions in Ukraine. So yeah, that debt is definitely well into the tens of trillions of dollars.
Let me ask you something real quick, Jess Cakes, before you drop down. What's your opinion? Where you do you feel that Dr. Darity is correct when he says that he feels that reparations in terms of the local levels are pretty much counterproductive, that it needs to just basically be a federal program?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm educated enough to know. Like, I know when I'm out my wheelhouse, and I just don't. I'm not that well versed into it to know whether it should just mainly be focused on the federal program versus the states. I really don't know.
Oh no, it's no shame in that, sister. I don't know either. I just feel that just based off of history and everything that went down, when we look at all these individual states, all of them participated in slavery at one time. So that's the reason why I say they should all, cough up something. Yeah, I believe the federal government should be the biggest supplier of the cash and the money and everything else like that. But all of these cities and these states and these counties, they all contributed. So I think they all should have to pay something. Of course, the state of Mississippi, we look at some of these states, Mississippi's a poor state in the actual union. Could Mississippi afford to actually pay Black people reparations? Maybe they can't afford to pay them what they deserve, but they definitely, Mississippi as a state, I feel, for everything that they put people through in that state, even up to the day, I feel like they should go ahead and cough something up. So maybe they can't pay $300,000-$400,000 to the actual people that were descendants of slaves in the state of Mississippi, but maybe they can pay, X amount of dollars or whatever, and the federal government can go ahead and can cover the rest. But, that's just my opinion. And like I say, I'm not an expert either. I'm not an economist, and I don't know exactly how they crunch the numbers and how they get everything to work. But just based off of all of the actual participants, the federal, state, local, city, county, all of these people that benefited, hell, I feel like the private sector as well should cough up some money as well too. And you can throw the church in there as well too. There are a number of people that went ahead and benefited and made fist over dollars, became multi-millionaires, billionaires, created generational wealth, was able to hand down legacies to not only to their kids, but their great-great-grandkids. So it's a whole bunch of people I feel should go ahead and pay up for this as well too. Let me go ahead and get to no tax. Oh, you go ahead.
I just want to land real quick because I start working at 3:00 in the morning. But why does it have to be an either or? Why can't it be both? I pay state tax and federal tax off all my stuff. So and we as Black people pay the Black tax every day that we wake up. So why does it have to be an either or? Should it be a federal program or a state program? Why can't it be both? Because both of them are guilty, just like you said. And I'll land there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jess Cakes. Let me go ahead and get to no taxation. You had your hand up. Did you want to go ahead and speak?
Go to the next person. I'm in the middle of something right now. I'll come back.
Okay, let me go ahead and get to everything descended. How you doing tonight?
Good evening, everyone.
This is an interesting topic to me because I really love Dr. Darity and everything he has to say about reparations. But I think, guys, I got to deal with my little boy, so I'm gonna come back up when I finish.
Okay, no problem. I know that people got the little ones and stuff like that. They got to go ahead and take care of. So it's nothing about that. Let me go ahead and read a couple quick comments off of that. Anybody wants to come up as well too? I see Naheem's up in the space. I know Naheem, Ben Friedman, they're out there in the actual they're out there with boots to the ground. They're actually out there doing things as well too. I see Ayon, she's getting ready to come up. So I don't know if Ayon, did you want to speak, say something?
Yes, real quick. Good evening, Newstoter.
Hey, what's up?
DJ Sag, and peace to the room. I just wanted to, as far as the title of the room, Dr. Darity says California and New York reparations are counterproductive. I would definitely have to agree. And as much as I've supported Dr. Darity, if you go to his page, because I'm on it right now, the only main reason why I came up because I was going to share it in the Jumbotron or in the chat. If you just type in state reparations, he has been adamant, what he's personally shared with me in the back channels since 2004, his position in regards to why he's just purely about the federal and why all of this stuff with the state has, just really been a waste of time. I do agree with you that we need to, go after all these localities. If you're looking at a federal implication, I would imagine that would happen either way after the fact, once you get the big bag and get the big legislative piece and process. Just looking at basically how they rolled out the Marshall Plan in Europe after World War II. They didn't go about it based on, provinces or states or locales. It was a big federal push and federal plan. They worked out the other stuff after the fact from a local level or based on which, specific countries suffered whatever various harms and human rights violations and stuff like that. So I think that is kind of the working logic he's following, and that's what I tend to agree with. But what do I know? I'm just Eon. So
no problem, Ayan. And listen, you're entitled to your opinion. Like I said, I'm no economist. I don't know exactly how things will be done and how things should be divided or whatever. Do I feel the bulk of the money should come from the federal government? Yeah, I definitely do feel the bulk of the money should come from the federal government. But at the same time, like I said before, I still feel like all of these other entities, government, local governments that took part in the actual, the enslavement of Black people, I think they should have to call for something too. I think, like I said, from what Dr. Darity said, based on his numbers, when you add up the actual, he said the budgets of state and local governments, he's saying that it's less than $5 trillion. So we know that they could not foot the entire bill. Economically, we know that's not feasible. At the same time, when we're talking about I'm sure I would assume when he's saying that the actual their budgets is less than $5 trillion, I would assume that he's saying that annually as well too. So one thing about whether it's federal or it's local, as this or it's whatever, we know that he said that now the debt is $16 trillion. Well, we know the United States is not going to write a check for $16 trillion in 1 year. We know that they would have to go ahead and slice that up, who knows, over 20, 30 years or whatever. Maybe they're giving out $500 billion a year. Maybe they're giving out $1 trillion a year. So we know that we know that nothing is going to be paid. There's not going to be one lump sum and then boom, we're done, because that would sink the actual government. We understand that. So, but at the same time, can these state governments get together with their budgets, they combine, and maybe, a couple $100 billion from them. Maybe it's not even $1 trillion, maybe a couple $100 billion from the state and the city and the county and these local governments. Can they afford to do that? I think they can afford to do it. I think if you dig down deep in their coffers, I believe they got it. Like I said, I'm not saying they should go ahead and fork it all over, because the actual federal government is responsible for it, but they also played a part in it as well too. We know they played a part in it because you had these states in the South there that were ready to succeed because, hey, they couldn't expand slavery. So they're very much a part of the problem, and they're very much part of history as well too. These people that want to go ahead and leave, these people that went ahead, the first insurrectionists in the history of this country, they talk about that little thing at January 6th, but the true insurrectionists, they had bridges and they had roads and they had everything else, schools, and everything else named after them. So now they're just now starting to take down statues of these traitors. So yeah, they should definitely, even if some of these states feel a slight pinch, and I'm not saying break them all away, but they should definitely have to cough up some money as well too. Everything. I know you had your hand up, or did you want to speak?
Yes, I really respect Dr. Darity's expertise on this subject. I think that local reparations is really being kept alive by, or reparations period is being kept alive by these local efforts. The politicians and people at the federal level, they are failing to be able to put reparations in the spotlight. So I think that while I agree with him, we all would want it to come from the federal level, but it's just not happening. And it's really the local level that's making the push for the federal.
Thank you, everything. And I have to agree with you on that. Like I said, I understand exactly where he's coming from. I understand his mindset on the situation as well, too. But it is a local people that's out there in California and New York and Chicago and all of these states that's actually applying pressure. That's actually, let's be for real. It's the actual local. It's the people in the local, the city, the states that's actually putting the actual reparation name up and making it go viral, making people actually take, have to really look at it. And so, I don't think we can really just discredit the people that's out there actually doing it, because the local people are actually putting pressure and making the federal government, making a lot of these elected officials who don't want to talk about it actually have to address it as well too. So I feel you on that everything as well too, because if it was not for the people on the local level, they wouldn't even be talking about this right now. They wouldn't even be talking about reparations. So, the people that's out there doing the things that they're doing, and it's a number of you guys up in this space as well too. So shout out to all you guys that's actually doing it. But, there are a number of you guys that are really responsible for actually making the federal government, talk about something that they're uncomfortable talking about. They don't want to talk about this. They want to go ahead and neither political party wants to talk about it. People talk about, the Republicans are dead set against it. The Democrats don't want to talk about it. The Democrats feel like it's a losing issue and it's going to piss off moderate white voters. It's going to piss off the average blue collar white person out there. So they don't want to talk about it. But the fact of the matter that you got so many people out there doing it now because think about it, the two of the biggest states, California, the biggest in terms of population. New York, I think, is now the fourth. I believe Florida's now the third, but I think New York is the fourth. Well, two of the four biggest states in the union, set up reparations commissions. And New York is getting ready to do theirs, and California did theirs. So not only that, but from based off of what they said, didn't Dr. Darity also he served as a expert or in terms of helping the actual he was one of the consultants for the actual California task force as well too. So that's a little bit he was actually a consultant. So I mean I'm not really sure about that, but apparently he lent his expertise to California when they were doing the actual reparation commission and everything out there as well too. I see Rella's up here. So Rella, what's going on? How you doing tonight?
Hey, Newstoter. Shout out to the room. Hey, everybody in the space.
Hey, what's up?
I'm doing good. It's so interesting that, again, it's like we're circling back around to the same conversations we had some years ago, and we're allowing people to, I think, get up in arms without, I think, approaching them in this manner. I think this is the best manner to approach things that come out of the Economist's mouth that we've all interacted with, to give the public a chance to understand where Dr. Darity's coming from, where Kramer's coming from, and the several. I mean, there were a plethora of economists, even on the DOJ level, that also were actually tasked to pull the numbers in California, and that's just California. We have not really sat down and pulled the entire numbers for all the states' GDP, right? And then turned around and said, okay, well, based on the GDP and quantifying the levels of harm like California is doing with the legislation that they have put forward, and they're continuously putting forward more information, even going back over the report that they put out, but going back even over the industries and the impacts of harm. So when we look at what the work that has to be done, it's a continuous thing. It's not the economists give their opinions and then that's just it. This is really something that is so on a larger scale that the federal government, of course, is going to have to be the one to actually pay out the larger portion, because it was a federal mandated slavery and any other acts of harm were allowed to be done because the federal government allowed it so. On the state level, the states get their constitutional information from the federal government, and the states can implement it how they want to. How it's defined, that's why it's important for commissions works to happen. That's why it's important for people to have, I think, the information and knowledge to know that we're talking about descendants. We're talking about the descendant of who are the freedmen, who are the Negro population, who do you classify as a foundational or ADOS, whatever the talking points are for whoever wants to call them. I'm just saying all that work has to be quantified on both the state level and it has to go to the federal government. Because what if the federal government said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and pay these reparations? Who are we paying the money to? Well, the state has to have already done its work and due diligence, so we don't waste further time saying, okay, now we got to wait for the federal government to allow the states to do the commission's work when the commission's work can be happening at the same time. And so that's my only real concern when Dr. Darity talks about the federal government is that he knows the federal government has to be the one to pay it, the bigger bill, but he doesn't want us to lose sight of that. And I don't think he's not saying that the commissions and the reparations money coming out on a state level shouldn't be done. I think they have to be done at the same time. Like two things can be true at the same time. So that's important to look at that. And then how do you do that? You have to pull from the people in the community, the legislators, the organizations, and you have to get people together. And I think California did a hell of a damn job doing that exact work with people who came from the community. New York is working on theirs as well. Rhode Island did theirs. Virginia did theirs. And I'm not saying it was all right. What I'm saying is they started. You can always go back and actually refine a thing. Now that we have a better understanding of what it is that we're looking for, I think, as descendants. And that's important for us to get involved. Even if you're just a regular old Joe off the street and you want to know what's going on, how this is going to impact me, taxes, and other people being, concerned about, well, I shouldn't pay reparations because, I wasn't here and y'all wasn't slaves. All that should be addressed, always. So, shout out to the room and to everybody who's definitely woke, like you said, or who's definitely aware. And they're really looking at 2024 and being more and more involved. So That's it.
Let me ask you something real quick, Rella. Just in your personal opinion, if it wasn't for the efforts of people on the grassroots on a local level, do you think it would be drawing the national attention that it is right now?
I don't think so. I think what the grassroots, and when I say the grassroots, let's just be honest, what regular Americans who are descendants who realize that there is a part of our history and culture and our continuous harm that is never addressed, we said enough is enough. And I think had it not been for that push, and had it not been for that push to actually be heard, vocalized the way it was, I don't think we would have gotten this far. And even with people who have a resistance to how it was done, they don't even realize that they too utilize their voice as a catalyst to bring attention to what was being done. That is important to also know. See, God says your enemies will be your footstools, and you need to let them. You need to let them. And so I think we have to continue the momentum. We have to continue the push because more and more information is going to be uncovered. And we also have to be willing to get involved in the states positions if we can. I don't care what it is. If it as long as it's a position where you can have some influence in regards to getting close to politicians or close to someone, a director or someone in any of the agencies, do it. So your voice and our voice, you can carry our voice with you wherever you go.
All right, I appreciate that, Rella. Like I say, I think that so many people have been contributing, and like I say, the actual attention that is drawn is just from regular people going out here and actually keeping it up in the actual conversation. Ayon, I know you tweeting you putting some stuff in the jumbotron for Dr. Darity, but you got a pretty good amount of content in there, sweetie. So I think they can pretty much see. So that's a good amount right there. We don't need no more stuff up in the jumbotron, but like I say, I appreciate everything that Dr. Darity's done, and I understand his point of view, and I think he doesn't want to weaken, the actual reparation claim, but I don't really see people actually going out there, and because some of the stuff that's actually been laid out, I believe, by the actual states are going to actually, going to be the framework for a lot of what the actual federal government's going to do as well down the road as well too. They're going to take pieces of this stuff right here, and they're going to implement it as well too when they make the actual master copy of it. So, I don't look at it that way that that they're ruining it, they're messing it up. Because, like I say, I believe based off of history, the states, they should pay something. The states they shouldn't just go unpunished. They should go ahead and have to cough up a little bit of that money as well too. And I realize that certain states are not going to be able to go ahead and do that, but any state that was actually in the union at that time that actually had slaves, I'm not talking about ones that came in later on or whatever, but the states that, if you had, and I don't care if you were a slave holding state and then you became a free state, if you were a slave holding state at any time, you should have to pay something. Now, for states that came later on and stuff that had nothing to do with slavery, that's fine. But the ones that actually participated, and I don't care if you were only a slave holding state for 10 years, you should have to go ahead and pay something up, I feel. No taxation. How you doing? You ready to go ahead? And anybody else that wants to speak tonight as well, too, guys, come on up here and raise your hand, and we'll get you up here as well, too. Definitely go ahead and retweet the space out as well. Retweet the space for my people over there on YouTube, guys. Make sure you go ahead and share the nice broadcast as well, too, and click that notification bell because YouTube is definitely not sending out the notifications. But no taxation. Go ahead and unmute your mic. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's good. Hey, DJ and everybody in the room. I trust everybody.
Hey.
Hey, I trust everybody is well and headed where they need to be going. White folks did it. That's number one. Okay. That's the thing Miss T and I got going on when I tell her anything going wrong, white folks did it. This is a double-edged sword. And, and I have talked to y'all, ad nauseum about black being a double-edged sword. Well, this is what it looks like. Should we or shouldn't we? How do you cut it? Should we cut here or should we cut there? It's a double-edged sword. And the bottom line, truthfully, is the political landscape. What does it look like? How do we pivot? Should we be doing this or should we be doing that or should we be doing both? It's true that as long as the conversation of reparations comes up in state houses, it will come up on a federal level. Conversation, I said. Okay? So it's important to keep the conversation going out there. That's one thing. The other thing is that states don't have any money. Especially now, the political climate. What is it? How many millions of people just came in this country, and they're coming in every day? I don't know if you all realize it or not, but 20,000 of them people come into this country every day. 20,000. And so the political landscape of the country has changed for black folks. And so how do we pivot from that? Now we have to be on the front lines of close the borders because that helps us. So it takes away from our reparations fight, even though that's part of it. So do I agree with the Darity? I don't disagree with the Darity. And this is a conversation he and I had years ago. The problem is we don't want it to go to court. That's the problem. That's the one problem. The other problem is when you get into states like Mississippi, Louisiana, even Georgia, even though Georgia has the money, but they ain't going to spend it. Oklahoma, they got money, they ain't going to spend it. Then what do you do? See, California, New York, they have economies of their own. Florida, Texas, they have economies of their own. That's why I say there's only 4 states that count in this country. What are the black folks in rural Iowa? What are them farmers going to do? What are we going to do about them? Because those are the people that are hard to access, and those are the people who need the most help. If you really want to know the truth about it, why? Because it's not as developed as it is on both coasts or in those 4 states that I just mentioned. So it's a double-edged sword. Do I think we should do it? Listen, I'm all for do everything and burn it down. That's just me. Throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. However, the only way money gets printed in this country is when the federal government says print it. That's the only time. And as long as the Department of Printing is open and printing that money, we need to be pushing for it because they owe us our piece of the pie. And I think more effort has to be made there than on a state level, but that's my opinion. That doesn't make it fact. The only fact that we really have is states don't have any money. These states don't have any money. But guess what? They have major corporations in their states. And so if we look at it from a different eye, maybe we can move with it from a different eye, because if states don't have any money, considering the political climate, considering they letting all these immigrants in, then maybe states need to be telling the major corporations, this is how much money you made off of the enslavement, and they said we got to pay, so you got to cough it up if you want to stay in our state. So I don't know how it's going to go down, but I just know that it has to go down. But I think we have to make sure that we keep in mind that the political landscape of this country is changing every day. And the first 6 months of this year is going to be the most crucial months of black folks' lifetime. Either we're in or we're out. And so we have to press forward. And wherever we press is where we press, because all of it needs to be pressed. And I'm going to leave it there.
Before you go, no taxation, I want to ask you this real quick. Do you believe, though, and I'm in agreement with you in terms of like I said, the money, the main money, the bulk of the money is going to come from the federal government. We know that. But do you think that because of the actual pressure that's been shown on state level, that's actually going to impact the federal government? It's going to actually make the federal government have to do something. When you see all of these commissions and studies and whatever popping up on the state level in all these different states, do you think that puts the onus on the actual federal government to actually get out there and do something?
Well, see, that's another whole layer. Here's the thing, and I want to just put a disclaimer in here. I don't think going after reparations or atonement in states is counterproductive. I don't think it's non-productive. I don't know what it will produce. Okay? It's a wait and see game, so I don't agree that it's counterproductive. I'm not going to agree to that. But I will say this. Here's the thing. News. They know who they have to pay. They know the conversation is not going away because people in states are organizing and still talking about it. And especially for those situational things, issues that come up where people's land has been stolen or beach has been stolen, and the slaves from Georgetown were sold, and that kind of thing. So situationally, in there's wins, if that's what you're asking.
Appreciate that. No taxation. Guys, on the Jumbotron on the far right-hand side, this actual article for the Nice Actual Space podcast is up in the actual Jumbotron. It's the very first article on the right-hand side. It's the only article on the right-hand side. Go ahead and retweet this article out so people who may have not had a chance to read it can go ahead and they can take them straight to the site. This came right off of the Newstoter.com platform, guys. So definitely go ahead and retweet this actual article out. It's on the far right-hand side, the very first article in the Jumbotron. For my people that's on YouTube, if you guys want to actually want to go to the site and read it, it's in the actual description as well, too. Let me go ahead and get back to Rella and anybody else that wants to speak. I see Black Majority States up here, so shout out to Black Majority State. Any of my people that's down in the actual listener section, if you guys want to come up here and share your thoughts, feel free to come on up here. Like I said, we have a number of people that's actually participating in actually in grassroots movement all throughout the nation, north, south, east, west, trying to do their best to go ahead and get this get this into the actual the national government, the federal government, to actually go ahead and do something as well too. So that's the only thing. I don't see it as counterproductive. I don't think it's going to stop it myself, but I understand what Dr. Darity is saying. And like I said, the man has expertise and he has knowledge, and he's one of the top economists, in the country. So, I definitely would not, challenge his expertise in terms of the numbers and crunching and everything else like that. But I do feel that the actual spirit of it, right now is based on the local level. It's based on the local level, and it takes, before things actually become an actual law in the law, a lot of times, it takes the actual people on the local level to actually get things pumping and get things jumping as always. So let me go ahead and get to Rella, and then I'm gonna get to Stilettos as well. Shout out to Stilettos. Go ahead, Rella, you got it.
No, I was going to say, I think Black came up right before, so I can go after him.
Black didn't have his hand. I don't know if Black wanted to speak or he just came up, but Black, did you want to say something? Because normally he'll raise his hand.
Yeah, I'll speak in a minute. I'm at work.
Yeah, I figure Black, when he wants to speak, he'll raise his hand. But go ahead, Rella, you got it.
Got you. So, I want to just add on to what No Taxation was saying. See, the states always say that they don't have any money to allocate towards, I think, large, large expenditures, right? But someone like Brandon in Chicago will find $95 million in COVID money that was spent and say, oh, guess what? I made the decision to go ahead and use that money for, let's say, offshoot people who came into the country illegally, so that way they can have some sort of resources to help them get set up under the guise of, oh, this is used, this is a need, right? But yet they have not done any of the actual work, the study work to actually quantify the conditions of harm, even that Illinois is participated in, let alone the city of Chicago, and how the city of Chicago, in whatever capacity they that city had institutionalized slavery or mandated slavery or Jim Crow or any type of harm, even well after into today. So again, the work on the state and city level has to be done so that way any money that is sitting around that could be utilized as resources for need, that can be used to say, okay, hey, we have quantified numbers, we have statistics, we have data we pulled together that the city and the state is responsible for addressing. And you cannot utilize the fact that the state don't have money because the GDP, as well as there's tax money that has been collected that people do not go back to get, that is also sitting. So again, I get it. Some states might say they don't have it, but that's not an excuse anymore because they always turn around and show that they have the money and they find ways to move money around.
All right. Thank you, Rella. Let me go ahead and get to Stilettos. Stilettos, how you doing tonight?
Hey, everybody. I just want to apologize. I have chronic laryngitis, so my voice may go in and out. So I want to apologize in advance. But thank you so much for having this space. I just got off the New Jersey faith-based reparations initiative that talks about how the Christian church in New Jersey is complicit in the slave trade and how New Jersey actually owned the slaves, not just private people who own the slaves. So let me just say this. I'm originally Solidarity, and we named our organization in paying homage to Dr. Darity because we had a very close relationship with him. And in my conversation with him, he stated to me as an elder that he wanted to see reparations go through before he passed away. And I'm real big on paying homage to respectable elder. So we actually torn in the sense of, I know he's against local reparations, but I'm here to say that we on the ground didn't create these reparation initiatives. So we're out here killing ourselves to maintain our lineage and our heritage in these reparation initiatives because they don't speak of us. They talk about African slaves, they talk about black enslaved, they talk about indigenous, they talk about everybody else except for the American freedmen or the chattel enslaved in the U.S. We even have bills to go through to talk about the global South, including Caribbeans and the diaspora. So we're fighting very hard to maintain reparations for those who descend from chattel slavery in the U.S., however you want to call yourself. I'm definitely going to say American freedom. So I'm kind of disappointed in a sense that he's not understanding. There's Knockin' and Cobra that initiated these local reparations. It's not us. We're like way behind the eight ball, trying to catch up, trying to make sure that the language and the verbiage and these reparations bills speak of us. So if we can get this done, there's so many initiatives that have gone through without speaking of us. And I'm looking at this article because Karen from Florida, she was involved with the Amherst, Massachusetts reparations task force, and we support her. And they never mentioned American freedmen. And we were fighting hard to get her to get them to say it, but not without superseding her. So yes, Amherst, Massachusetts was about a professor who didn't get paid enough and who was overworked, and they wanted him to get paid. It was also about a descendant of slave who her property was taken by Amherst University, and they wanted the descendants to be paid back. Nothing about reparations. It was only about the elitists wanting to be recognized and being able to live in Amherst because it's very segregated. So if we can jump in to these initiatives, we are not going to get involved. We're not going to be spoken of. We have the same thing going on in New York. We have Chicago, but definitely Massachusetts. We're fighting hard, and we've been able to accomplish getting our legacy in these bills that are being done and getting recognition. So Dr. Darity is absolutely correct. The debt is owned by the federal government. I got that. But my Massachusetts spends $50 million a month on immigrants. Money somewhere. And so Massachusetts was complicit in the slave trade as well, too. So these cities and states are complicit in the slave trade. In Connecticut, they build ships into the Caribbean to trade, you know what I'm saying, for slaves and stuff. So the cities and states are responsible for some proprietary justice. They were complicit in the slave trade. They made money off of it. I know Boston alone was built and thrived off of the slave trade. So when I do my bills, I do acts of atonement, truth and reconciliation. I understand the word reparation is misleading people. But if we don't jump in, everybody is black now. We even have Cape Verdeans in Boston who are saying that they're black and they're entitled to reparations. And nobody wants to talk about repaying for slavery from the time it existed from 1619 or 1776, however you want to do it, to current. They want to talk about since 1965. I have city council people who is married, who's married to a felon for murder. She says he's wrongly convicted. She wants the reparations to go to mass incarceration. I have another city council person who is Afro-Latina, so she says. She wants the reparations to go on the war on drugs. So everybody has this specific cause as to what they want reparations to go to, but nobody's talking about our ancestors. So we have to jump in. And I've spent the last 2 years in Boston and in Connecticut fighting to get our name on the book. Name meaning our legacy, our lineage, our ancestralism. That's why we fight. We're not initiating them. We're trying to make sure that we're being represented in the correct way. And so I'm going to reach out to Dr. Darity and speak to him because, again, like I said, I haven't talked to him in a while, but he's really giving out the bad message that local reparations are counterproductive. No, they're not. If we don't get in and get our legacy on the books and our lineage and ancestralism, they're going to do reparations without us. And they're doing it. So I just feel like, this is just a miscarriage of justice. We should all be working together. I really respect him as an economist. His numbers are correct, his books are correct. However, I understand that for him, he wants federal reparations. But where's the federal bill? We fought hard for Dr. Darity to get his edits in the HR 40. That didn't work. They've now submitted a new HR 40 that calls us new Africans. Where is our federal reparations bill that's supportable by Dr. Darity that he's accepting of that gets us a federal reparation? There isn't one. So into the meantime, we're fighting for our lives on the ground to make sure that our names are mentioned in local reparations. They're even including indigenous people, black and brown people. Anybody who is not white is now jumping on the local reparations and they feel as though they're harmed and they need their reparations. So we're not going to sit back and allow people to get reparations on our church without mentioning us. And anytime I testify, anytime I submit something, you have to bow down to my ancestors. There's no way in the world I'm going to sit back and allow the city that I live in pay reparations to all black people and you don't say that my ancestors' names. That's why we're doing this. And there is money. Because again, like I said, the city of Boston pays $50 million a month for the immigrants. That could be our reparation. So I'm going to close here, and I'm just going to go on mute. If you have any questions, just let me know.
All right, I appreciate you coming up here, Stilettos, as well too. And like I say, I feel what Dr. Darity is saying. I think all of us are in agreement that we know that the federal government is going to have to be the catalyst behind the actual, the actual reparation, forming up everything and whatnot. But we also, you got to look, like you're saying, you got too many people that's out there in different cities and states and stuff that's actually, pushing it. They're the reason that the federal government is contemplating and even have to discuss it. They're the reason that politicians are even talking about this, about reparations. So I don't think it's counterproductive, in my opinion, that you actually have a group of people that's out here that's actually making change. They're making not only the United States, but the entire world is actually taking notice of it. So I don't think that's counterproductive in the least bit, in my opinion, as well, because if you did not have these people out there in Boston and New York and California and Georgia and Virginia and all of these other states, nobody would be talking about this. Nobody would be discussing it. It makes politicians uncomfortable.
May I also make a statement? It is the expressed intent of Knockin and Cobra to overwhelm the city reparation thing so that they get federal funding. We stopped that. Every proposal I write said this is not to supersede federal reparations. So if we can put that verbiage in there and that disclosure, they want the federal government to pay the cities for whatever it is they want in reparations, so that if we do go to the federal government and ask for reparations, they're going to say, oh, we already paid you on the city level. So that's why we fight, to get that verbiage in there. And I can submit our proposals to anybody to come to review. They are trying to control the narrative. They're trying to take our reparations away from us with mentioning us, but without mentioning our harms or having them included. They want to go from 1965 forward since they came here. And these are black immigrants.
Yeah, we actually last year had a space about that up in Boston and that space, DJ, what was the title that I think black immigrants felt titled to reparations as well too, because we covered that in actual space last year sometime, that you had a number of Black immigrants, and everything you were saying, they were pretty much saying as well too, that, you know, we're victims of racism and this and that as well too. It's like at this point in time, the actual thing of slavery, descendants of slaves, you know, everybody's mixing and oh yeah, well we're talking about redlining and we're talking about this and that, all important issues. Don't get me wrong, segregations, all of that, and is important issues. But at the same time, the debt that was never paid, you know, people are trying to mix and put too much stuff in there as well too. And I think at this point in time, we have to focus solely on slavery. And then when you hear people saying, okay, let's focus solely on slavery, and you have people say, well, you know, this also happened and this also happened. No one's denying that happened. But what we're saying is the root cause for the actual racial wealth gap in this country, the root cause for the suffering and the pain and everything stems back to slavery, you know, and everything else, even segregation, falls behind slavery.
May I say something? This is what I say when I'm talking in legislation and stuff like that. If you're going to talk about being harmed because of slavery, but don't want to include slavery, then let us get our harm reports together. If you as an immigrant feel as though that you've been harmed, then you check out harm reports and you create your own claim. Because you can't supersede our ancestors. You can't supersede 250 years of free labor. You weren't here during Reconstruction. You weren't here through Jim Crow. You came here on the tail end of civil rights. We're not saying that you weren't harmed, because anybody Black in America is subject to be discriminated or face structural or systematic racism. What we're saying is you can't speak reparations and not speak about our ancestors and what we went through. So let us do our thing. Let us get our reports. Since they want to do a study, you take our reports and go to the Office of New America or the Office of Immigration Affairs, and you get your claim. It has nothing to do with us. Shoot apples and oranges. Had it not been for the badges and incidents of slavery and the state of slavery, you would not have been discriminated against. You can't supersede the historical content of the harms that have been done to our people. Your people weren't raped, they weren't castrated, they weren't hung, they weren't enforced ancestral breeding. They didn't migrate from another city to another in the United States to escape racial terrorism. They didn't lose jobs as a result of banned from jobs and couldn't feed their family as a result of that. They came in after all the hard work has been done by our ancestors. But they chose to come here. We were human trafficked here. So my point to them is, I would never say that anybody Black hasn't been discriminated against. When the police roll up on you, they don't ask you what country you come from. They don't ask you what tribe you're from or what language you speak. You're just Black to them. However, you have to bow down to the ancestors in the historical context of how we got here. I could never go to a foreign country and be like, clutch my pearls, like, oh my God, they have dirt floor. It's mud. I can't be here. I'm going to sue the government. Oh, you don't want to sue the government? Okay, well, I'm going to sue the government because what kind of establishment accepts this kind of behavior? You can't do that. You can't come to somebody else's country and snub your nose at them and look down on them and cry about discrimination or poor condition and not include the people who have been historically harmed by it. And that's what I think. And I don't care if you were, enslaved in your country. That has nothing to do with the United States. You have a claim against your oppressors, your colonizers, whether it be Dutch, Portugal, Spain, or whatever. Here in America, we have a right to file a claim against the United States government and our cities for what's been done to us, without including these people. And now all of a sudden, everybody wants to be Black. We have Cape Verdeans who historically have never claimed to be Black. They have told me all my life that they weren't Black, they weren't enslaved, they have nothing to do with slavery in America. Now all of a sudden, they're top priority, saying that they are the most despaired in Boston as being in the Black and brown community. They can't have it both ways.
Absolutely. Shout out, thank you, Stilettos. Real quick, guys, before I pass it to No Taxation, up in the Jumbotron, we have the YouTube channel that's on the far right-hand side. Definitely, if you have not already subscribed to that YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe to that YouTube channel. Also, for those that can support us on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. Once again, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. For those that do not have Cash App, We have the Venmo and PayPal also up in the Jumbotron as well, too. Same for my people on YouTube, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. And we have the Cash App and Venmo in the description on YouTube as well, too. So once again, guys, we definitely need that support for the new year. $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Hate to throw the advertisement in there, but we got to pay bills, and we definitely appreciate any support, even if it's $1 that you can donate to the actual platform. It is greatly appreciated. $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Let me go ahead and get to no taxation. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
And don't forget to tell them to subscribe.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a subscription as well too for the site as well too, guys. So in a little bit, you guys can you can also subscribe for as little as $1.50 a month and support us that way as well too. Goes directly to Newstoter. We don't have to worry about no threshold and this and that or whatever. So we'll be in a couple of weeks. We'll be going ahead and we'll be getting that out there as well too. So you can't support a Black-owned business for any less than $1.50. You can't get it much cheaper than that. So, like I said, we're definitely not trying to break the bank, but we are trying to keep the business open. So, once again, $Newstoter, but you got it, no taxation.
I'm so glad that Stilettos came up here. You know, first of all, I have her very high regarded. She knows that. There's only a few people that need to be sitting at the table when we start talking at federal level, and I believe she's one of them. I want to take some of the air out of the statement, but first I want to talk about what she just said about the Pan-African community. She's absolutely correct. That's part of the political landscape now. And so when you start talking about that, you have to look at certain pockets of the Pan-African community and see who's out there and what are they doing. And they do have to be stopped. In fact, they didn't get a battery in their back until ADOS came out, if you want to know the truth about it. They had laid dormant for a number of years. They hadn't accomplished anything what they've accomplished since ADOS came to be about. They just have not. And that's been my whole lifetime. They were just people who ran around looking for jobs. That's what we used to say back in the day. But it's different now. Because they're on the move and they have friends in high places. And it seems that we don't. And also, too, I want to put this on there, and I'm going to send it to you, DJ. The CBC, Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, has their stuff out for all the internships on the Hill and in these different little places, political places. And it's a paid internship. So if you're a student or if you have a loved one who's a student, I'm going to give the information to DJ and let him put it up in the Jumbotron. It has a listing. It's just going to be a link. Go through it, the application. I'm going to send the whole thing where you just click and then you can get to the stuff. The other thing that I wanted to say is that I want to take a little air out of counterproductive. Here's why. When you get to be a certain age, y'all, now this is just old Black folks talking. When you get to be a certain age, that's how you start talking. It's counterproductive because you don't see the kind of, and I think this is where Darity is coming from, the kind of push that's needed on a federal level. Just think about it. And this is not to shame anyone or voice my opinion. I just want you to look at it. Just let's lay it out on the table kind of thing. The people that are working on a local level are workers. Workers. What if we had those workers having the ability to work on a federal level? Now, these are workers. These are people who devote time and money and expertise. And they get other people to devote time and money and expertise. That's what workers do. And that's what people like Stilettos, Roz, Aon, Rella, Black, New Negro, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And that's why it's very important for us to strengthen them in the ways that we can strengthen them. Because maybe, just maybe, we'll have a sliver of a window of time where we can get the workers to be in a position to do that federal push. And I'm just laying it out there. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying with what we're up against. What if we had the Stilettos and the Rozes and the Rellas and the Blacks and New Negroes able to go up there and give them white folks the what for? See? That's what we need on the federal level. And I'm going to leave it there.
All right. Thank you. No taxation. Let me go ahead and get to Ayon. Ayon, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yes, thank you, Newstoter, and thank you, Elder No Taxation, because that's literally the energy in regards to what I was picking up on. I mean, from his recent interview, him speaking with Dr. Cornel West, and now this YouTube video, I just hear an elder who's, he's getting older, up in age. He's probably frustrated. And he's been saying some of the stuff. And I'm just looking at it, trying to place a human component to this. It's not whatever hashtag or faction anybody's associated with. I just feel that Dr. Darity is just, he's tired, and no one is not listening to what he's saying because everybody's so locked in to what they support. And I think since I've been following reparations since 2004, and that's when I came across his work, Charles Ogletree, and that team of people, I just realized, like, listening to a lot of the stuff that I've been hearing, that he's just at a point in his life where he's kind of going rogue in a way, not in a bad way. Just he's starting to step out on his own and stand on it because he's frustrated that no one wants to invest in a federal push. And I just think that, he's so above, his understanding in what it's going to, take to implement this, that it just flies above what anybody else can understand. And I mean, it's kind of like, I have a manager that was a former nuclear physicist professor at a school. They think a certain type of way. Like, they really have different types of brain patterns and just the way they process information. And I think for someone like Darity, he just thinks as an economist, I have to imagine, as a mathematician, they like people like that think a certain type of mathematical, mechanical way, and it's hard for the average person to understand, their vision or how they see things. And people don't appreciate people like that. And I think that's why I kind of get on the defensive when people come at him in certain ways that I deem disrespectful, because I just think people just lack a true understanding what his vision is. And I just respect him because he's been in this fight for the longest. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to add a human component to this because sometimes that gets lost when we have these topics come up and stuff like that. I'll mute my mic.
Thank you, Ayon. And I just want to say this: like, I'm definitely like I said, I respect everything that Dr. Darity's doing to try to go ahead and push reparations out there to the front. So I definitely don't want to make it seem like there's an issue with it. My only thing is, like I say, I don't find it counterproductive. All of the stuff that he's done, the data, the crunching, and everything else, him lending his voice, trying to put everything out there. I don't have an issue with it. The man is he's doing a lot. I'm just saying, I personally don't, and that's just my personal opinion. I don't feel it's counterproductive, and I don't, I'm not going to trash Dr. Darity for having his opinion or his thoughts about how he feels about it. Like I said before, and I said earlier, I feel like the entire country, owes, and that's from the private sector, that's from the states, that's from the cities, the towns, all of these places, the corporations. All of them owe, in my personal opinion. And I understand that it's going to be the federal government, like always, it's going to be the ones that's going to have to actually write this into law and actually implement it and actually, distribute the money and everything else. So I understand exactly what he's saying. I myself just personally feel that a lot of the brothers and sisters that's been on a local level have been a big help. That's just my only thing. I feel like they've been a big help, and I feel like if it wasn't for them, this wouldn't even be a conversation at this point in time. So he's an elder. I respect him. The man is a genius. I mean, he's definitely he's a great mind, and I respect everything that he's done. So I don't want to make it seem like that. So I definitely respect everything that he's done. I just have a slight difference of opinion, about the actual work that's been done on the local level, but no whatsoever. Like there's I don't want to make it seem like I'm taking taking him for granted or anything of that nature, because no, like I said, I definitely respect him and love everything that he's been doing and to understand what he's been doing as well too. So, but I just feel like, hey, a lot of these brothers and sisters that's getting out there, they're making this thing actually pop. They're making it actually happen. And, I don't think that, and I think that because of these brothers and sisters out there on the local level, they're putting all kind of pressure on the federal government. They're putting all kind of pressure on politicians and people that feel uncomfortable and that don't want to discuss this, that don't want to talk about this. So that's just the thing that I feel about it.
Can I just hop back in for 1 second just to talk to Aeon? So let me just say this to you. My organization, for the last, let's just say 5 years, have been out in the community promoting Dr. Darity to the highest level. I'm talking about, we give out his books free. Everything's been about please, and equality, so forth and so on. When it came time for us to do the call to action with California, everybody was on the Fix HR 40 campaign. And we had Dr. Darity's edits. We bombarded the Capitol Hill and the White House to get them to add his edits. And if they didn't, we weren't supporting HR 40. So nobody that I know of was not a Darity fan. I think that what the problem is that when we're on the local level and we're trying to get this, our legacy and our name and our status into legislation, he's going against us and he's making us look stupid. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. When I go to symposiums in Boston, he's on the screen, and I have the Knockin' and Cobras and the Pan-Africans ridiculing him, saying that we're not entitled to reparations, we're so put on layaway, and I'm in a room full of elitists, and they don't even know what a layaway is, and then the moderator has to explain what a layaway is. They're making a mockery of him on a local level. I was highly offended by that. Highly offended. But then when you go behind my back and say we shouldn't be doing local reparations, you're giving the Pan-Africans a green light to run all over us. So why isn't Dr. Darity on our roster? Why isn't he supporting us, regardless of what it is? It's not us that's creating the local initiatives. So we do want federal reparations. I don't think anybody doesn't want federal reparations. But if we follow your cue and you tell us to back off of HR 40 because your edits aren't in them, and we do that, and when nobody I know is subscribing to HR 40, there's no other federal plan, back us with the local reparations, just to make sure, like I said, with the disclosure, that this does not supersede any federal reparation mandates or initiatives. That would be more conducive. But when you go behind and you make all these statements about you hate local reparations, you don't believe in local reparations, that gives the enemy more juice to walk all over us. And that's what's happening. If our icon, Dr. Darity, who we swear by his book as being the blueprint for reparations, doesn't believe in us, then who else does? Because when he needed us to believe in him, we were there. So my organization is named after him. I can't even use his name anymore. That puts me in a very compromising situation. So we have records, we have business things going on with Solidarity. How do I pay homage to an icon or a scholar that doesn't even believe in the work that I'm doing?
Have you personally been able to ask him that, or y'all meet up with him?
Why do I have to ask him? Why is he going on social media degrading all the work I do? Some things don't even hold on a second. Some things don't even qualify an answer. He shouldn't be doing it. You know what I'm saying? If he knows that Anthony is in Boston and Jonathan's in Boston and we're working on local reparations and our organization is paying homage to him, if there's a conflict of interest, he should come to us. Why am I going there? I'm selling his books. I mean, no. I'm not selling his books. We buy $5,000 and $1,000 worth of books at a time, and we give them out free to the community. Everything is about hero equality, solidarity. This is what we need to do. We need to get this work done. Lineage-based reparations. So what I'm saying is that he owes me a phone conversation. But as I said in the previous statement, I don't have a problem extending a olive branch because at some point in time, we have to make a decision not to use his name, not to pay homage to him. So to settle my conscience when I make this statement, because I wasn't expecting to see a new statement from him, because he's been making these statements for a year, and it's a conflict of interest. So now Antonia has to contact Dr. Darity and say, look, if that's how you really feel and you don't support us, we can't back you. That's heart-wrenching to me.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie to you. Wait, I'm not done yet. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm just trying to have a conversation.
Well, yeah. Stilettos, let her actually say something too now.
No, it's no conflict. I was just trying to get a greater understanding because it's my first time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
So
I was just saying that.
I'm sorry.
I mean, is it a matter of he's not on the same page as you guys in general, or is he just making a break to do or fulfill what he's been talking about on his own outside of all of us?
So I purposely have stayed out of it. And I purposely have stayed out of it because I have businesses in 2 different states with the Solidarity name. We have invested so much money out of our pocket to promote from hero equality and Dr. Darity and Solidarity. So what I'm our name is everywhere. So my point in the matter is that I have noticed, and I don't really get involved with people's arguments, I've noticed he's been very controversial with our collaborators, going back and forth. He doesn't believe in American freedom. He doesn't believe in local reparations, whatever, so. He's never addressed me. And if I talk to him right now, we have a good rapport. I just haven't talked to him. So now that I see this new article, and he's downgrading the local reparations, I am frustrated because of his age, frustrated that the things aren't going the way he does. But you're asking us to stand down and have people walk all over us with nothing else in place. So maybe he should do the federal reparations bill and we back him, because he told us he didn't believe in HR 40. He told us, and everybody has a copy of his edits. It's HR 40, add Dr. Darity's edits, and if you don't, we weren't going to support it. And he was absolutely right. His edits need to be in there. We stood like 10 toes down on what he was saying. That was like 4 years ago. There is no other federal bill that I know of. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it on the floor. So if there's no other federal bill, what are we doing in the meantime when people are like making a mockery of us? I'm talking about a serious mockery. They want the reparations to be all Black Lives Matter, based on melanin. No other anything. They could be here. They can come here tomorrow and want to be qualified for reparations. So to me, he knows this, and this is not a disparaging statement about Dr. Darity. I'm just really shocked that it's continuing, and there's nothing else in place. So what I'm saying, as somebody who has a namesake organization based on my conversation with him, that he wanted to see reparations before he died, and we had a very, very close relationship. I'm not saying that we don't. I'm just saying now it's time for me to make that phone call, because you can't be disregarding us and disrespecting us and downgrading our work in the community when we know they don't want us to get reparations, and we know they don't like you. We know that they don't like Dr. Darity. We know that. We've been in meetings where they disrespect him. So you can't then have us out here talking about Dr. Darity here, equality. This is the blueprint for reparations. His numbers are exact. They're on point. Him and Thomas Kramer, who I'm also close with, put this down. I got it. But the bottom line is, before you make these public, degraded statements, come talk to us. Or let's figure out something. It can't be that people are risking their lives. People are on the ground, running around, trying to put out fires. This is what we do. They're fires. We didn't create them. We're firemen. And then our icon, our scholar, is saying the total opposite. So I don't know what changed with him. I don't know if it's because all of a sudden the local reparations at the forefront and they're out of control. And that's not what he wants. He wants to see federal reparation. But until there's a federal bill, what are we supposed to do?
Stilettos, let me go ahead and get back to you, sister, and I'll get to let me get the Black majority state and some of the other hands as well too. Black, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Okay. Newstoter, shout out DJ, everybody in the space.
Yeah.
Riveting conversation.
Yeah, to say the least.
So let me say this in a couple different ways. So everybody evolves, and so I guess we could all say, hopefully, over time, people do evolve, and whatever that turns out to be, hopefully, it's pro-Black American descendants. And I'll leave it at that. I have respect for Dr. Darity as he deserves respect. But in this particular instance, and I put in your purple pill a lot of examples of why this is not historically accurate, and to be quite honest, is something that is actually counterproductive. And so the first thing, well, I put a couple things down there, but I have an historical thread of reparations. And in 1783, this would have been after the United States was established as a country, there was a woman who was born in Ghana who actually got reparations in the state of Massachusetts. She got a pension based on being enslaved. And so, and there's a ton of examples throughout this thread in actuality where you can find either institutions or other entities that have paid reparations to our people. So if you find one example, then it really crushes the theory that state acts of atonement or whatever you want to call it are not relevant. They are very relevant, and I'm going to go down the list of examples. The Dred Scott case, which is a very important case, and in that case, in that decision, the prime justice essentially asserted that Black Americans or slaves or whatever he referred to us as do not have United States citizenship. They do not have federal citizenship. They have state citizenship. And this is the reason why he was denied federal United States citizenship, because he was traveling from state to state at the time during this case. And so the reason they wrote the 14th Amendment was to abolish this part of the way the U.S. was constructed, so that no longer would citizenship be state-based, but now it would be federal-based, and no state then could take away your citizenship. And that's why that Dred Scott case was, to be perfectly honest, one of the most fundamental cases that has happened in Black American history. Because the states codified enslavement. Enslavement is not codified in the U.S. Constitution until the 13th Amendment, and we all know what that's about. However, even in that, the states still enforce it in the prisons that are state-operated prisons. The states enforce the slave codes, the black codes, Jim Crow. All of these laws were enforced at the state level, even when the federal government was complicit with redlining and FHA loans and everything that the federal government did. So it is a duopoly system that was designed, either the federal government separately, the state government separately, or them both together in conjunction, working together to cause all of these harms. And to try to punish one and or seek justice from one and not seek justice from the other is just not historically accurate. And so for that reason, I gotta really disagree on the idea that seeking state, county, local, whatever, because really the state is the authority, and so whatever happens on the county and local level, it really reflects on the state. So yeah, for that reason, I gotta disagree. Now I want to make this point because it did just come up about the numbers, because this is another area of contention that I have, and I say this as a migrationist, not a reparationist. as a migrationist, as we are being flooded with immigrants, illegal and legal, into this country, the white population has over $100 trillion of wealth today. They estimate the Hispanic population will have over $100 trillion in wealth in just a few decades. Even if you gave every Black American $1 million today, that would not cut this so-called wealth gap. This wealth gap is enormous. It cannot be fixed in the way in which we are trying to get it to be fixed. You need permanent, sustainable economic activity that funnels directly into Black Americans' businesses and Black American bank accounts. And so for that reason, I just don't understand this fascination with the wealth gap, because you're not taking one population and comparing it to another population. You're taking individuals and comparing them to individuals. And that is always going to be a recipe for failure when you're dealing with collective issues. This is a collective issue, not an individual issue. And so for me personally, I just personally don't really rock with that, because if we really took the time to run the numbers, which is what you're supposed to do, based on the projections, you will see we are going to fall so flat in 20 or 30 years, and we're in a position where we're never going to catch up. And I'll end on that.
All right. Thank you, Black. Appreciate it. Let me go ahead and get to Rella, and then I'm going to get to Friedman. You there, Rella? All right. We'll try again. Rella, are you there? Rella may not be in the space at this moment, so we'll come back to Rella, and then we'll get to Friedman. Friedman, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Peace. Respect to Newstoter, the host with the most, great space, and of course, white people institutions, DJ. White people institutions are most definitely racist.
What's up?
Respect to the Friedman family. What's good? What's shaking? Dr. Darity says Cali and New York reparations are counterproductive. I just put in the comment section. Darity is counterproductive. He's projecting. He is counterproductive, and Dr. Darity is a hater. I have to say this. If we're going to speak truth to power, it applies to any and everyone. Dr. Darity included, regardless to his scholarship. He's counterproductive because you don't denigrate the local work of the American freedmen. If you're qualified to speak on politics and you're a scholar, speak on politics. You don't denigrate the local work. If you know that all politics is local, you don't denigrate the state acts of atonement that's being done in California. I agree. The New York African Descent Bill is counterproductive, but the U.S. Freedmen Project and Nikki Lucas, State Assemblywoman Nikki Lucas, has a solution in a state act of atonement bill that is freedmen conscious. It's exclusive to the American freedmen. It's constitutional, and it's most definitely qualifies as state acts of atonement. His words. It is not reparations on the state level, but it is state acts of atonement on the local level. So these local initiatives and state acts of atonement is most definitely necessary, especially if it will lead to federal reparations, which he claims is his goal. I don't know what the hell is going on with Dr. Darity, and regardless to his scholarship, he is still a man. I repeat, regardless to his scholarship, he is still a man. And then they have confirmational bias. And in this case, that applies to Dr. William Darity Jr. Confirmational bias legal argument, so you might as well say that you agree with the Pan-Africanists or the Clan Africanists, excuse me, because they're pushing for race reparations just like you. Salute to Ali Bey. They're pushing for race reparations just like you. Just because you say Black American descendants of chattel slavery, it does not make it constitutional now. All it does is make it more specific, if it is that. But then again, we still broke that down. We still broke that down. So, Dr. Darity, you are in error. Dr. Darity, the scholar that we respect, the economist that we respect, I would still consider him an elder, but even he is in error when he dismisses, disrespects, and discredits the work that's being done locally, whether it be California, whether it be the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, whether it be the U.S. Freedmen Project. It's all disrespectful. Stilettos to the ground, and Jonathan and Saskia, they're doing great work locally in Massachusetts. And they even named their organization after him. How dare you disrespect their local work because you are want to focus on the federal reparations. If we're going to focus on the federal reparations, let's do that. But you can do that without dismissing the reparations work that's being done on the local level. You do not have to disrespect the local work of the organizations that's actually named after you. You do not have to disrespect the freedman status, which has been shown and proven constitutionally, congressionally, and you have no legal argument against it. We cooked you, Dr. Darity. And again, you are in error. Maintain your economic argument because that is your expertise in economics. It is not constitutionality. It is not policy. It is not political advocacy. We respect your economic contribution. We respect the 30 years of sacred work that you have done. But we do not respect you disrespecting the great sacred ancestral work that we have supported you in and the local work that we have done on the grassroots level. If you claim to be an elder, act like it. Elders do not disrespect the American freedmen who are doing the work for you, your wife, Andrea Kirsten Mullen, and the rest of the American freedmen family. So yes, Dr. Darity is in error, and he says reparations are counterproductive because his statements are counterproductive, and he is projecting. We do not support race reparations. If you know, you know. We do not support race reparations. In other words, it is not constitutional to say Black American descendants of chattel slaves or chattel slavery in the legislation. If you were a constitutional lawyer, you would understand that, but you are an economist. You are an economist. You are not a constitutional lawyer, so you have your own confirmational bias, whether it be Negro, Black American, and your own personal criteria. Now, we have tried to work with you on the back channel, and you dismissed it. So now the truth has come out, and I appreciate this space, Newstoter and White People Institutions, aka DJ, because this space is definitely needed. We still appreciate the work as far as his numbers and the trillions and trillions of dollars that he has put together as far as the planning, the wealth gap between the American freedmen information and all other non-American freedmen. We appreciate that work. We respect it, but we can never respect you disrespecting us on the local level. That will not be tolerated. Scholar or not, if you are a scholar, maybe you need to listen to the freedmen, quote, Twitter scholars, as Camilla called us, we cooked her too. The freedmen Twitter scholars, because we're on the ground and we will be outside with our American freedmen family that we see in these we will be outside with the average American freedman family and people who are in our local communities. So maybe the scholars aren't as qualified as they profess and proclaim if they get their information from the quote Freedmen Twitter scholars. You're getting your information from the Freedman Conscious family. You're welcome. Even though you did not say thank you. You're welcome. And we will still continue to do the work with or without you. The end.
All right, Freeman. Thank you. Let me see if Rella, are you there? I don't know if Rella must be stuck in the matrix because I don't see her. Yeah, she must be stuck in the matrix. DJ, you think I should go ahead and drop Rella down?
She could just be working or whatever the case be, but I don't see no messages or nothing.
Yeah,
She could just be working or whatever.
She seemed like she may be stuck. So, Naheem, I know you were up here and you had your hand raised and then you dropped down. I know your hand's not up now. Did you want to say anything, or you good?
Peace. I was trying to put my hand up. I put it up. It shows that it's up on the icons, but I can't see that it's up. And the fact that you can't see that it's up shows that there's obviously something wrong with Twitter. So, shout out, Newstoter. Shout out.
What's up, Naeem? Real quick, just for the you just said, just to rebuttal what you just said. So, Twitter updated twice within the last week. Also, if you got an Android phone, there's this one app called the Web System View. It looked like a settings icon emoji. So that also updated twice. And if you see that in your phone, in your Play Store, or whatever the case be, update it and make sure you start your phone. Go ahead.
Well, say the name of it again.
It's called Web System View in your Play Store if you got an Android.
All right.
Also, Twitter updated twice this week too. So and the Web System View updated twice. So the Web System View is your GUI, the way you look at stuff on your phone. Well, go ahead.
All right, no doubt. Good looking, bro. Good looking. Shout out to the Freedman Conscious family across the nation that's putting in this work. We've been dealing with Dr. Darity for a good minute now. Those of us at Be the Power / United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, we've had several back channel discussions. Many of you that follow our channel, you see the video we did where we're having a discussion with Dr. Darity, Warren Mosler, and Thomas Kramer, some of the chief economists, financial gurus, and scholars, because Thomas Kramer is not an economist, but he is a scholar in one of his fields of study is reparations, and how much he feels, based on his calculations, that we as American freedmen should receive insofar as the money, the monetary aspect of reparations. When it comes to local reparations, and it's so funny that you're having this space because it led to a debate this morning between me and my bro. We had a good, we was debating for about an hour over this topic. And I support local reparations. I support them. University of Massachusetts Amherst website, I've said this before, they have on their website, every time that the United States, cities, communities, churches, etc., have paid reparations, right? Because I don't think people are really understanding what reparations are. When we interviewed Charles Blow on his book, The Devil You Know, about the Back South strategy that many of you have been hearing us push for the longest, one of the things I said to him, I got a little pushback on something that I read in your book, and it's about you saying that states should pay reparations. I said, we follow the works of Dr. Darity, and Dr. Darity doesn't believe that reparations should be paid by states because no state has the budget capacity to pay reparations. And Charles Blow pushed back, and he said, well, the atrocities happen in the states, and if the states have the capacity to, repair, if you will, anything that it has broken, I'm paraphrasing, then it should do so within its capacity. And then he said, look, we got to get money in people's hands. And from that point forward, I started to look at this thing differently. I started to look back at that UMass Amherst website, start to look at the way they categorize reparations. I went through the list of everything that's called reparations. And that's why I don't just call them local state acts of atonement. I call it reparations. If a city has the ability, I'm going to say a state has the ability, and a city, the capacity, any capacity to repair some of the harms, no, it is not the full reparations program that we've indoctrinated ourselves with over the years. What California eats is not going to make Alabama crap. It's just not going to happen. So what California does with its reparations program and its citizens within its capacity, it will suffice for California trying to make an atonement for the harms done to the American freedmen in that state. And I disagree 100% with Darity. A lot of his positions are just off. They're off. He won't debate them. And we ask anybody that is a proponent of his works and his teachings, if you feel that you can make a case for what he's proposing, well, we ask, for you to step up and we have the debate/dialogue about it. Slavery can't be based off the Fugitive Slave Clause, because this is what Dr. Darity says in his new book for reparations on Black Americans, right? Black is a blanket term. It's a blanket term. That's why y'all never hear us using that term Black American, because it doesn't apply to what we're trying to do when we're talking about disaggregation. And some are running with the term delineation. Well, then you can't use Black American because it is an all-encompassing term according to Federal Directive 15. And no matter what we say in the Twitter space, it is not going to change the racial classifications of Federal Directive 15. We got to get this thing right. And there are no sacred cows in this space. The fact that people hate me, let me tell you, I'm fine with that. I am fine with that, because we don't want no fucking Bob. Let me not curse, because I don't know if you're cool.
Yeah. Don't hit.
Right.
Yeah.
I got you. We don't want no bobbleheads over here. See, nobody on our side of things is a bobblehead. That's why me and my bros had a whole debate early this morning for about an hour, like 8 in the morning to 9 something in the morning, because we don't do bobblehead over here. Just yup. No, we don't do that. We don't do that. So the fact that people hate me and we just keep getting it right, and you adore the person that's getting it wrong, it shows that there's a disconnect, and we're placing too much into the personalities as opposed to the information. That's where the emphasis needs to go. What is being taught is what is being taught going to take us over the finish line. Because that's where we're concerned. Somebody's mic is open.
Yeah, somebody does have an open mic. I don't know who it might be.
It's closed. I think that was my sister Stiletto. So, I'm just saying, fam, let me end on this. People gotta use, and we told Darity this on the back channel. Like, if I want to, I could put the emails out. We've had a discussion among ourselves, so we're not gonna put them emails out. But we can, because when you write, you're right. When you're right, you're right. So, Narcan and Cobra is trying to create footprints all over the country with these pseudo reparations, all-inclusive, Pan-Africanist plan, reparations plan like they did in New York. That thing that they did in Evanston, that does not qualify as reparations at all. It's a lottery system housing voucher. It's like, that's not reparations. It's not, because anybody can get that who are not. It doesn't matter if they were citizens of Evanston and they can trace an ancestor back to the slave labor camps in this country, or better yet, an emancipated person. It doesn't matter. If you fall in line and your name gets picked out of that hat, then you qualify. That's not reparations. So our thing is, where these reparations, local reparations initiatives are happening, we should step up. we should take them over or we should initiate them. Because what Narcan and Cobra is trying to do is run up the scoreboard and say, look, we got victories here, we got victories there, we got victories here. And if they use HR 40 as the legislation that Narcan and Cobra has written themselves into, then they're going to say, well, look at Evanston, look at this place, look at that place. We are the premier organization that's getting reparations done across the nation. And Edward Bloom is coming. On his website, he says one of the things that he's coming for is racial reparations. So, you know, people can BS with this thing all they want and Twitter space it out. The real work is on the ground, family. And we can't let these people win and take over something that is going to benefit us in the now and our children and our grandchildren in the future. And I'll end with these words because I hear me say it all the time. If we don't get this right now, our children and our grandchildren will not be able in the future to live in the country that their ancestors built in the past. So Dr. Darity is 100% wrong. 100% wrong.
Thank you, Naheem. Appreciate you coming in. Let me give a shout out real quick. The full name. Thank you for your contribution on Cash App. Greatly appreciate it. Anybody else that wants to donate, $sign Newstoter, $sign Newstoter. We definitely need the support. Let me go ahead and get to Rella. I had dropped you because I kept trying to get to you, but I didn't know if you were stuck in the matrix or not.
Sorry, no, I had got a phone call, so it's okay.
Okay, well, you ready to speak now?
I am, if you're ready for me.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah, so again, like I said, like no one is wrong in their stance. I think the consensus definitely is we realize that Dr. Darity has definitely deserving of the respect from his scholarship and the work that he and his wife, Kirsten Mullen, has done, even laying out reparations and statistical data with writing books, being a part of, and himself being a part of the reparations initiative in California, and also testifying in DC. So I want to say that I don't think there has to be a debate about Dr. Darity and what he's saying. I think we all have the capacity to make clear movements based on what is being said. I think, you know, for those who have ears to hear and eyes to listen, you can make a distinction on your own. The discernment, I think, is clear. We don't really care about whether or not someone likes you or whoever likes who. I think we're really understanding that we're going to make a state level, and we understand that it has to get to a federal level, and we want to make sure we have our documentation proper, because we do have people that are coming up already who are already in position, like Narcan and Cobra, to make moves quicker than we are because they have the backing, they have the ear of Congress. So that is another double-edged sword. We need authority, in particular in different states. Also, the argument is already set in stone. The federal government, the state's government collected taxes on contraband. They collected taxes on human bodies, human trafficking around the country, in and out. So, you know, we can utilize the numbers, I think, from economists. We can also utilize the numbers from economists from the DOJ. And then we can just make our moves accordingly. If you got an organization, cool. Do what you do. If you are doing work, good. Do what you do. Let us know about it. But I think there's no need to disrespect Darity in any way, shape, or form. You can have that discussion without actually, being very, very ugly about it. So I think that's where I kind of land, really. And I think everybody who's, still doing the work and trying to get other people involved, and we need more people involved, because delivery is also important. Because I remember in the beginning of the movement years ago, people were upset about the work that was being done on a state level, and that, they were trying to shy people away from even talking about reparations on the state, local, or federal level. I remember posts going out about mayors or people who are in position to talk about acts of atonement in their states and cities. They were being called out on social media. So now, like I think Black Majority actually pointed out, we have the ability to evolve. We have the ability to evolve the more and more we get to know how our states are structured and who is implementing what. And we also have the ability to understand that we need connections, we need relationships, and we need to also be in a position of authority so that we can get what we need. And that means that we have to make sure that we're able to deliver the message and get the message across. Everybody is not going to be able to deliver the message, because some people don't have the tact to deliver the message. Some people are good at delivering the message, I think, in the public sector, because they have that voice, that bravado, that they can galvanize people who are passionate and they're angry and they're looking for a change. But when you're talking about getting into state and local politics and rooms with people, you got to be able to talk to people, and you can't talk to them like you're on the street. So, again, all of us have a place, I think, in this movement. And I look forward to seeing what we're going to do this year and moving forward. And I'll land.
Okay, thank you, Rel. I appreciate it. Let me give a shout out to JM Luxury Travels. That's my girl secret sister. Thank you for your contribution on Cash App and always supporting. So thank you, sweetie. I appreciate that as always. I see you up in the space as well too. So if you want to speak, just go ahead and put your hand up and we will get to you as well. We got a couple hands up here, so we're going to go ahead and get to the speakers. And anybody else, we got almost 70 people up in the space, guys. Like I say, for those that can donate $1 to the platform, it is greatly appreciated. $Newstoter, $Newstoter. For those that do not have Cash App, the PayPal and Venmo is in the Jumbotron on the right-hand side. Any amount is definitely appreciative. Let me go ahead and get to Roz. Roz, what's going on with you tonight? How you doing?
How you doing, Newstoter? I just what's going on, DJ? I just wanted to say on this. Years ago, this is in 2019.
Roz, you're a little bit low. You got earbuds on anything?
No, I don't have my earbuds. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, but go ahead. You're just a little low, but go ahead.
All right, I'll try to raise my voice a little bit. Okay. I was just saying in 2019 and 2020, we had actually worked with Dr. Darity in producing a things we get wrong about closing the racial wealth gap. We actually put it into an audio book and shared it out with different people. And so it's kind of, I want to say it's kind of odd when people don't know the history and the work that's been done and the monies that it costs to hire and bring in a professional actor, a voiceover actor to be able to read documents such as that, and the dedication for getting a professional audio engineer to EQ it and things. People don't know the work that was put in. They weren't there. And I think that's very important to know when people say, well, people are being disrespectful. For me, at my point where I am in my life, people are flawed. I mean, if they make mistakes, if they're right or they're wrong, so be it, right? Just don't deify anybody. That's what I learned in this whole movement. This is what I've learned in life. People make all kinds of mistakes. And yes, Dr. Darity is a brilliant economist, but that's not to say that he is a great strategist when it comes down to whether we should go after local reparations. And the reason I'm saying that is because even on the DC reparations task force, there's a question right now that's happening where people are basically trying to change the language in order to, like a place filler, and also they have it so that if DC say the task force can't come up with a means by which to properly distribute the monies, it goes to the so-called historic organizations that have been fighting for reparations. So you see how that works? Who are they talking about? They're talking about NARC and COBRA, First Repair, people like that. So these people are going to try to implant and put people in there that are going into the task force and that are influenced by the task force. So it's like, let me put some saboteurs in so we get the money at the end if it doesn't work out anyway. And the reason I'm saying this is because if we weren't involved, now granted that's federal, is the DC it's a federal territory, federal government, but it's also residential and local. So if you don't have people in there that are fighting specifically for our lineage, for reparations, then you're going to have, like, just like Sister Stiletto said, just like Brother Naeem said, you're going to have people that have been ties. They look at Evanston as a success. They sit there and say, well, just like in Evanston, we can do reparations. And they don't look at what Evanston is. It's a little housing voucher, and it's not lineage based, and it could easily be challenged. All of these things. So you have to have people that are embedded in from the community, that are in there, that are fighting for state and local or whatever. We like Sister Stiletto said, we didn't start this. We were trying to fight for federal reparations, which would make sense. But at the same time, we were fighting, and I say we, yes, me and my crew, we were fighting for federal reparations and the Darity edits. We were part of that, and so it's kind of like a very kind of odd duck now that this is happening, where the same people that had put skin in the game are not having. Nobody's coming to us and having the dialogue, right? It's not. It's like, oh well, we don't think it should be local, but you can't let Narcan and Cobra come in and put their stamp on all of these smaller towns and cities and larger cities and larger cities. Now people think that they know what they're doing. And what they're doing is they're sabotaging. They're saying that 1.6 billion people in the world, because they have melanin in their skin, should be receiving reparations. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know who knows math and numbers, but I certainly do. That will never happen. $1.6 billion will not give us a penny and a half each. People need to understand what they are pushing and who they are. We cannot not be involved in state and local reparations. If you're out here, boots on the ground, doing this work, you know that. We cannot not be involved. We have to be involved. We have to push the narrative and educate and continue to do so. Because without us doing that kind of work, you're going to have a totally different narrative by the narcs and the cobras and the people that are talking this race foolishness that will never happen. With that being said, on Saturday, I got to do this because it's happening at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library in Washington, D.C. We are having a reparations informational along with an illegal immigration, or I say immigration informational with Numbers USA. So we're working to inform the community and inform media, inform, we have press that's coming. We have community members that's coming. We have politicians that are coming. And we are talking about reparations and illegal immigration. That's this Saturday. It's from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And if you're in the area, then for Dr. King, we're coming to get our check. This is what he was talking about as far as reparations. We need to keep informing as many people as possible and dispelling all kinds of myths and rumors and getting this work done. So I heard Sister Bella saying before on here that, I mean, it's not, doesn't take everybody. Everybody can't deliver the message. I don't know what's meant by that.
I didn't say that.
Everybody, well, something, I'm paraphrasing, sister.
Well, I know, I'm not gonna say it, but I'm just saying, if you're gonna paraphrase, I didn't say that.
Okay, you said something similar to that, right?
No.
You said everybody can't deliver the message, right? Effectively? Didn't you say something like that?
No.
That's what I heard. Okay. Well, anyway, what I wanted to say about that, I said I'm not sure who you were referring to, but what I wanted to say is that people need to get out and learn what is going on, what's happening, and how to bring the message to whatever community you're from. Because the community that I'm from, people from the street probably would think, oh no, I'm not going to listen to her because she sounds a little bit too sophisticated. Whereas somebody who's more street would probably be able to deliver the message to be able to reach that person that doesn't know. So everybody can do their part for wherever they are. So if you're in the area of the DMV and you're on Saturday, then please come by and see, as far as us, being able to educate our community. And that's all I want to say. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
All right. Thank you, Ross. Let me go ahead and get to Talent. Talent, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, peace and love. Peace and love. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Happy New Year. Ain't been in here in a while. Hope all is well. Shout out to you and DJ. My positioning is interestingly so on solidarity with Dr. Darity. And the reason why it is because on the local and the state level, if we're not talking about positions of leverage, like from the who's even introducing the bills and all those people of the lineage, do they have the understanding, or are we moving behind the eight balls because we're dealing with people working with the Pan-Africans or Pan-Africans themselves who have already put themselves in positions for many years ahead or before to be ahead of what's happening right now. An example of that is what we see that's going on, right? On the state level, there's 3 bills, right? California sunset, we see that. There was a fight there. There's some in Illinois that literally is called African descent citizens. The New York bill is super open, it's not lineage focused, right? So there's some work that got to be done there. And that's just 3 on the state. But if we start breaking it down to like locales, right? You got St. Paul, Minnesota, you got Memphis, Tennessee, you got the debacle that happened in like Rhode Island, right? Where they was letting indigenous people get involved. There's a lot of random ass task force that's just popping up on local levels. So there's always going to be certain blind spots if we don't have community interest, leverage, information, if there's no infrastructure in place, no organization in place, and people are not already in a position of power where we have local state or local city representatives that are being the ones introducing the bill and making sure from the jump it's going to be exactly what it needs to be in terms of language, lineage, the specificities, who we talking about. So, I think that the work should be more focused on delegitimizing a lot of this stuff that's happening on these local levels. And I think similar to what California said and what New York said, what happens in the state doesn't prevent a federal repair. Then I think that there could be more conversations around standing in solidarity with Dr. Darity and doing some type of campaigns to delegitimize anything that's not speaking the language that we standing on, and anything that's kind of like spreading the community of reparations, individuals that even are aware of this event. Because on the ground level, depending on where you at, there may not be a lot of people that even know that this stuff is happening around the country. So now you got to go through a certain level of information gathering, community outreach, education, and then if you still don't have anybody in positions of power or somebody that you ran for office, or somebody that introduced the bill themselves, then it's going to be a constant battle, as we see. So I'm not saying that people shouldn't fight, but I do understand that the federal level is one focus area where we could all put our might behind. And for the individuals that disagree with the federal push and they're okay with what's happening on the state level or what's popping up across the country and all of these different locales, start creating a list and hit the ground, right? 2024 is getting on the ground. And there's a lot of stuff happening. I threw in a Jumbotron a list of a bunch of stuff. There's something happening in St. Paul, Minnesota. Who's in Minnesota right now? Are they making sure the language is right? Are they conscious of what lineage is? Because I'm not in Minnesota, but they got a reparations task force out there. So there's a bunch of stuff happening, and if people believe in the local, state level, then get to work. And I land.
All right, thank you, Talon. I appreciate you coming up here. Let me go ahead and get to originals, stilettos. I see we got Friedman back up here as well, too, guys. Real quick, I just want to go ahead and let's be respectful. I know there's people in here that don't agree with one another, don't particularly like each other, but let's be respectful to the Newstoter space as well and to each other. So we're gonna definitely go ahead and definitely be respectful tonight, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and move it around real quick. DJ, I gotta take something for my damn tooth because my tooth is hurting. So I'll be back in a second. Hold it down for real quick. We got original next, stilettos, and then we got Friedman.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Oh, peace, black power, and lineage-based reparations. And happy New Year to everybody. Listen, I want to pose this question. And who came to mind? Originally, no taxation and RELA came to my mind, but anyone else want to comment on it, they can come in too. But I keep hearing this about what NARC and COBRA are doing. And we all know that NARC and COBRA are paid interest. They do not represent the interests of the what you call yourself, Freedmen, ADOS, FBA, whatever. They don't represent our interests. So since it's been said that they have the ear of this Black Congressional Caucus. Now it's 2024. It is an election year. What if we begin to put pressure on the Black Congressional Caucus? Now, and let's say that we take out one of them, they lose, and we begin to let's say we organize in a way such as Tariq Nasheed has a large following. I think Marcel Dixon has a large following. What if we, at some point, we're going to have to put differences aside. It's about getting this issue past the goal line and winning. So what if we begin to organize in a way and we begin to go after these elected officials, and we can go after them on the state, local, and federal level, and letting them know that you are not going to sideswipe us by having reparations, by putting language in these reparation issues that's going to give everybody with black skin reparation. That's not it. If you're not a descendant of the people who were enslaved in this country, then you're not entitled to anything. And you can't move the goalposts talking about the 60s and red line. That's a whole separate issue. But I want to know what people think about us trying to organize in a way to whereby we can possibly, if we take out one of them, and possibly two, that's going to send shockwaves through the entire system. Because at that point, they will understand that we are serious and we're not playing about our money. And so, if you would like to respond, please let me know, because there are things that we can do, because stuff was done in LA years ago, and it wasn't with like a large number of people, but the black community caused this radio station, I've said this before, they caused this radio station to lose $100 million in advertising revenue. And if we did that, think of what we can do on a national level, getting people just, at some point, we got to get We got to get past these petty differences. Whoever don't like whatever, okay, fine. You don't like each other. But this is for the children coming behind us. And we must do something to protect those children, because if we don't, they're not going to have a future at all. So I would like to know what people think about, us organizing in such a way that if we have to have like a core group of people where they're meeting and strategizing, and then to keep some of this stuff off social media or whatever, and then we're disseminating the information to one another so that we can begin to organize and move ourselves forward. I'm sure that this can be done. And so what I would like to know is that what people think about that, because we cannot allow Narcan and Cobra. They both, Narc and Cobra, what's that, Ron Daniels, they get money from George Soros. So you already know. And see with George Soros, he's of the Jewish belief. So they're already mad at us because we would support them. We would support them in Is It Real? So we already know that whoever controls their sustenance controls them. So they are only following their orders. But see, we are free spirits, and we can come in and do what we want to do. But like I said, I think we need to start going after these congressional Black Congress members, and if you can, on the local and state level as well, and letting these people know, because this is an election year. And the one thing that they need right now is that they need our vote. We got people like what her name, Ayanna Pressley. She's kind of she's in a corner where she may not get her seat back because she supported the anti-Black Palestinians, but the Israelis and the Palestinians are anti-Black. So because she wouldn't do what they wanted them to do. But I do feel that this is an opportunity for us to begin to go after these people and letting them know. Because, see, we can picket their offices on the local level. We can, and if there's people, if we have enough people in D.C., in the surrounding area, some of them may be able to picket some of the offices up there in D.C. But I think we do have to do some kind of pushback. We can't just keep saying Narcan and Cobra, they're more organized, or they got the ear of this. See, the ear, they may have their ear, but we got their vote. And without our vote, they're not going anywhere. So I would just like to know what people think about that, and people can begin to organize and do things and make things happen and move things forward. I'm gonna land with that.
I'll just be quick just to answer your question as fast as possible, because I know Todd ain't gonna keep the space open long. Only 10% of us gonna make it. So therefore, meaning only 10% of us as a collective gonna do this work. So I've had people on this app that I've never met in my life threaten my life on this app or doing this work, yo. So if you ain't really trying to really be about this work, don't step into this realm, because your life will get threatened. You know what I'm saying? And you will have problems with people. And I'm not even talking about the crack and knackers. I'm talking about our own people. You know what I'm saying? Not even the tethers. I ain't even talking about them. I'm talking about Negroes. You feel what I'm saying? Real smack. You know what I'm saying? You got other knackers up there that have gotten people doxxed and fired from their job, all this other stuff. So, it is not to downplay what it is you're saying. No way, shape, size, or form. And the only reason why I'm saying that, because what you're saying is already happening. We're already here in this room. And those that are here in this room have already moved the needle some way, somehow. But we're scattered. That is the problem. So we're doing things on whatever which way we could possibly get it done. You know what I'm saying? We don't have a large following within our own respective neighborhoods. Why? Because each one of us here is the black sheep of the family. You know what I'm saying? Our family don't care about no reparations, no political politics. All they want to know who turning up, who got shot, who got popped, who popping that ass, what's good with a weed. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the building. You know what I mean? That is it. You know what I mean? Even the ones that understand this work, they don't even care. So it's like, I think what it is not even overlook the question. I think what it is, we just gonna have to start finding specific people that really just want to lean in and say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. How can I fit into what it is you're doing, Stilettos or Freeman or Aeon or Tax or Black State. This is what I do for a living. You feel what I'm saying? So if you need my help, hey, I'm only a text, phone call, DM, shout, you know what I mean? Hit me on the screw tube, something. I'm on social every day, la, 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 la. You feel what I'm saying? So shout out to Black State Majority right here. Follow our brother with the big red beat. Social, you know what I mean? FundedSocially.com and as well as Newstoter. Follow Newstoter.com. We are trying to build up our Black social hubs online. So 8 billion people on the planet, only half the people on the planet stream, where the other half of the people getting their information from. You don't told me that by telling me the radio station conversation or story rather 100 times over. What I'm going to do, go get this printed. I got it, but jokers, regardless of I sell a QR code to you or you print it out and you go hand it out yourself. We're not making that move happen. Yep. You know what I mean? A lot of us up here be in here day in and day out saying what we gonna do, but we ain't made it happen yet. So I'm gonna just go only on my plane right there, and I'm with you. What you're saying. So whatever it is you think we should do, I'm with you. But go ahead. I think it was taxation. I think.
Hey, real quick. I'm back. I'm just letting everybody know I'm back. I know last I left original. It was original. He went. Did Stilettos go to?
Okay, then go ahead.
It's Stilettos. It's original. It was original Stilettos. Then Freeman. So then I guess no taxation. I don't know who's next out of no taxation umbrella, but
I guess it's Stilettos. As you said, it's the original Stilettos. That's how I went. I mean, sometimes the conversation forget the order, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's Stilettos, and then it's a Stilettos, and then Freeman, and then I don't know out of no taxation and Rel. I'm not sure who's next. Let me give a shout out real quick.
Rella can go before me.
Okay.
Oh, you know I'm not gonna do that. I don't do that. You know I'm not gonna do that. But no taxation will go, and then I'll go.
But real quick, let me give a shout out to Fatima. Fatima, thank you for your contribution on PayPal. But go ahead, Stilettos, you got it.
So I just wanted to say something real quick. Mr. Original was making a statement. I do apologize again for my voice about the Congressional Black Caucus. They are totally compromised. And so they have voted in for immigration bill before they've done anything for Black people. Not about just dismantling the whole Congress. He's mentioned Ayanna Pressley. She is my my congressional woman, and I have it on my page where she purposely went out of her way to campaign and advocate for the immigrants, but she's never done anything. And I know her personally. Getting back to what the gentleman just said, a lot of us have all these ideas as to what we need to be done, and I respect everybody's ideas, but it never comes off of social media. We can't even get our people to come to meetings. We can't even get our people to testify. Like the simplest thing to do when a bill comes available is to follow the template, copy and paste it, and email in, call in, be there in person, or even be on Zoom. And we can't even get people to do that. So we are like spinning our wheels, creating lanes for people to come in because we're clearing them for them, and they're still not coming in. But 90% of the people that we have conversations with always want to know where the check is at. So the people that we come in contact with in our local areas, they're just not interested in this stuff. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to commit to coming to meetings. They don't want to testify. They don't want to put any sweat equity into making this movement move. But the end result is they want to check. Another thing I want to say is, if we can get involved on a local level, like I was just looking at my text messages, Jonathan and I have been called to 5 meetings in this week alone for pop-up protests. The people that are Pan-Africans or Black immigrants want to protest and want to call it reparations because Walgreens wants to move out of the community. There's another initiative where this Trinidadian guy, he wants 3 different initiatives to be funded for $126 million a piece. The first one, he wants a monument for all the Black people who've been shot and killed in Boston to be made, and he wants to make it. He wants the money for that. He also wants them to fund it's called the People's Academy, where he trains people on trades. He also wants to secure this building so we can make apartment buildings. This is what they're calling reparations here in Boston, the Pan-Africans and the Black immigrants. That's not reparations. When I spoke with him personally, he says, I've been here for 20 years. I'm entitled to reparations. No, your ancestors weren't here for 400 years. And the things that you want are self-made things. You want to elevate yourself personally with a business that has nothing to do with the pain and suffering that our ancestors have gone through, and we have, I'm saying, for the last 400 years. So we have to get involved. But the bigger piece is, I think the talent was saying it, like he was saying that we're not organized locally. We're not, because these initiatives are created by ourselves, and we're scrambling to play, catch up and who's on first and who's on second, be at every single meeting, because you have to. Sometimes I go to 20 meetings a month because I have to stay focused. I have to stay in the game and figure out what's going on. And if you don't do that, you will get lost. So we're not organized because we didn't initiate these initiatives. Maybe some other states did, but the most states that I know didn't. So it's the Knocking and Cobras and the Pan-Africans that initiated them. And if you don't get in the game and you don't get focused and you don't jump in, even if it's just one or two people, to make sure that your face is being seen and that you're correcting the narrative, then you will not get the reparation. So I just want to make those points, whatever. But as far as the congressional Black Caucus, they're all compromised, and they all purposely to approve the immigration bill before they did anything for Black people. They've never done anything for Black people.
Thank you, Stilettos. Let me give a shout out real too, because Trouble, I see Trouble. You put the Orajel toothache rinse in there. I'm gonna have to get some of that. I got the toothache cream, but that cream ain't hitting it right now, boy. So, and then Roz asked, she hit me up a DM, said, do they have any clove oil or cloves? No, Roz, I don't have that either. So I'm gonna have to get something, because this tooth.
You got aspirin in there?
Yeah, I got some aspirin. I'm gonna take some in a second.
No, don't take it as well as swallowing it. Take an aspirin tab and set it on the tooth, and just let your other tooth hold it in place. Your saliva will eventually dissolve the aspirin. It's literally Novocaine with the tooth.
Actually, I don't. I think I just got regular pain reliever. I don't actually have the aspirin, so unfortunately, I don't have. I just got regular pain reliever. So, but shout out to all you guys, anyways. But I'm gonna try something though, because I'm feeling it.
Just let me piggyback off of what Stiletto said and feel better too, brother. You know what I mean, for sure. Try using regular mouthwash. It's alcohol based. It could help, but just on that. But what you call it? I heard you earlier say that you was in the New Jersey reparations space over there in the Zoom. That's a farce, nothing to, you know what I'm saying, waste of time in my opinion. It's not, you know what I mean, signed off by Governor Murphy anyway. That's the New Jersey Institute of Social Justice, just having a basic conversation of what we have in these spaces every day, you know what I'm saying, just talking about reparations. Now, I'll give them some credit. They do some work as far as other social justice stuff goes. But ain't none of them folks that's on that reparations panel with Black America. The Pierre Brutus dude, you Haitian, bro. You know what I'm saying? That definitely got to go. And when you say, hey, look, our people don't even show up, I haven't seen none of our people here in New Jersey ever show up to none of these so-called alleged task force meetings. You didn't show up to none of the rallies we had, whether it be held by someone up here, as far as us having a rally somewhere, or it's a reparations rally or something going on, we rallying about something. Folks don't even show up, you know what I'm saying? And it's not even really to point the finger at anyone. It's just that what I've been trying to explain to y'all this whole time. I've been self-employed for most of my life. You feel what I'm saying? We are working bees. Well, y'all are anyway. I don't work. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, we working bees though, either way. You know what I'm saying? Self-employed, unemployed, you still got to work 7 days a week. We ain't even got time to think about no reparation system. And if you is telling us that, yeah, the only thing I can think about is how I get the money, because I ain't got time to study you. That's on you. You know what I mean? But you don't even get support locally for doing what you do, and then we button the information back to the block. You don't even get a penny for that. So it's like when you say, hey, original, how we gonna make this happen? I don't know what that looks like, because that's something Yvette Cardinal always used to say. What does reparations look like to you? What does it look like to y'all? All I know is what it looked like as far as what I'm able to do. But go ahead, though.
All right.
Can I just make a statement real quick?
Yeah, real quick, because so let us. We got some other hands up.
Thank you for that information, because he's absolutely right. I just want to say the reparations thing that I was on was a faith-based reparations meeting, and it was kind of interesting that they were saying that the churches were complicit in taking tithes and having slaves pay tithes to the state, and the New Jersey was complicit in that. So it wasn't the reparation task force; it was the churches. But it was mostly white people, though. I just want to be honest with you.
Well, right, and I understand. And we are those that either descend from chattel slavery or born and bred here, and our folks came from the South and came north for whatever reason. We already know the history of New Jersey about how the churches had their hand complicit in it. We don't need to study for this stuff. Cut the check already. You know what I'm saying? because when you do the history of South Jersey, like, Lakewood, Asbury, Atlantic City area, that's where most of the slaves was either being housed at in them southern plantations. Look anywhere south you live at. You might be south, like in Georgia, but if you look south of Georgia, that's where the worst of the worst happened at. You feel what I'm saying? So all you gotta do is look south of your state to know what happened. You feel what I'm saying? Real talk. Go ahead, though.
All right, Freeman, go ahead. You got it. Unmute your mic.
No doubt. So, when you are an obstructionist, of course you're going to be in support of Dr. Darity and the race reparations. So, this is good to know. And this person who's on the stage has been exposed as a Klan Africanist. He has been exposed as a clout chaser, and he actually takes pictures with the Klan Africans in New York and calls that reparations work. He has admitted publicly that he supports non-ancestral reparations. And we have the footages of this. And he has, again, publicly admitted this. So, of course, he would be in agreement and alignment with Dr. Darity, who also supports race reparations, unconstitutional reparations. So it's upon us to identify this enemy who he claims to be an American freedman, but he's actually being counterproductive with his so-called advocacy and his 501c7 organization, which is just a social heritage club. In other words, that 501c7 organization is just a Twitter space organization where they have conversations and they go on trips to the Schomburg Library, and then they'll call that political advocacy. They'll go to trips to Harlem Hospital and then call that political advocacy. They'll go to trips to see Seneca Village, which is now Central Park in New York City, if you know. And then he'll call that reparations advocacy. So again, these are the enemies of the American freedmen. This is very counterproductive. Dr. Darity's statements are very counterproductive. And people who agree with race reparations, as we have already seen, is unconstitutional, they are very counterproductive. So if the scholar is counterproductive, obviously the so-called community leader, as he's professing to be, a field leader at that, in the admitted Proud Boy, he's also counterproductive. You see, I can at least respect the economic and economist perspective that Dr. Darity has brought, which is right in exact.
Bro, my bad. Who the hell are you talking about, bro?
I don't want to be disrespectful because Newstoter said disrespectful.
Well, yeah, but
you're talking to about a person in the third person, so I'm in the kitchen chefing up.
I have no problem with calling that person.
no, don't call anybody. Don't call anybody out. Just go ahead and just go ahead and keep the information. Just stick to the information.
Right. So the information is this: Darity is not a constitutional lawyer. A constitutional lawyer by the name of Erwin Chermowinski said the freedman status is genius. Darity, and I've read his book, The Black Reparations Project, wants to use reparations arguments, constitutional legal arguments based on the Fugitive Slave Act. That's not going to get the job done. It is weak at best. And people like, I can't say their name out of respect for Newstoter, but people like that obstructionist that's on this stage who just recently spoke, they will support race reparations because they're grifters. Grifting is counterproductive. Their organization is to grift and to leech and to tether off of the American freedman story so that his organization can get the glory and so he can buy Gucci clothes and take pictures in Brooklyn.
Okay, let's not get too personal, Freeman.
All right. Well,
this is kind of lame right now.
I land my Denzel Washington plane upside down. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, everybody, because everybody, there've been we've had quite a few speakers up here, and sometimes people are going to disagree and stuff like that, which is fine, but let's just try to keep it on the information, y'all. Let's not get personal, because that's the thing. We have enough information. You guys have enough information where you guys can just keep it on that, keep it scholarly, and that'll best serve the actual space as well too. So let's keep it there. I don't want it to go. I don't want it to get sideways. Let me go ahead and get to no taxation. No taxation. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Okay. Original. Man, I'm telling you, here's the thing. The way this thing is moving, and the way, whether you're in the reparations space or not, whether you're fighting for reparations or not, whether you're in the political process or not, the way this thing is moving in this country, man, life is happening fast. And I think that's part of the problem why people can't or don't show up like we want them to. I will say this. So what do? What's the alternative? This is glass half full. Well, the most powerful tool that Black Americans have in this country is what we're using right now, the internet. And we use it when we want to, but we don't use it when we need to. See? We do really good in situational crises. We do well at that. When the black farmer had the white folks was coming around there shooting their cows and whatever they were doing and killing their stuff and on their land, we all showed up. When the people down there, I don't know if it was Tennessee or wherever it was, the situation was happening, we showed up. I just got word today, I didn't even know it. I knew that in Jackson, Mississippi, black folks don't have clean water. I've known that for over a year. Okay, when they haven't had clean water since the incident happened, they still get boil water notices because I talked to the people at the EPA about it. But what I didn't know was that people had tried to prop them up and get the word out, and those people declined. So what do? Still, we have the most. If you can't get away from your home because you have children, there are other things that you could be doing. I didn't sign up for Marcel's, this is an example. I didn't sign up for Marcel's mailing thing because I don't go to the post office anymore. I just don't do it, okay? That's something that I put down after I turned 65. So from years ago, see, I said, I don't have to go to the post office no more. I ain't going to the post office. So, but what else can I do for you, Marcel, besides donate, okay? So I can phone bank. That means I don't have to leave my house, see? And so what you do is use what you have. The most important tool that we have is social media, okay? And we're not using it as wisely as we could be using it. We're not doing some preemptive things as far as the reparations conversation is going on. And that there's a certain skill that you have to have, and there's a certain timing that you have to get your word out on social media. I researched it some years ago when my husband was teaching about social media. He asked me to do some research, and I researched Twitter. Okay, and that's how I found it out. This was years ago. Having said that, original, that's one thing that we could be doing that we're not doing. We do it situationally, and we do well at that. But we need to start doing it preemptively. Okay? Them exodus still going on, and I was a part of that. And I remember when we coalesced and got the village together, it might have been 5 or 6 of us. Okay? It's only 2 of us left on social media that didn't get booted off. The only reason I'm not booted off is because X bought Twitter. Other than that, I was on the 3 strikes you're out program. I had to. And so it has to be done skillfully so that you don't get booted off and so that your word does get out. And it has to be done a certain way. Now, having said that, where the group at that's going to do it? Okay? those are the people that are staying home, the people that are already on social media. They can be put to work too. And, you know, we have to start thinking outside of the box now because we live outside of the box. Okay? And I'm going to leave it there.
All right. Thank you. No taxation. Let me go ahead and get to Rella. Rella, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Thank you, Newstoter and DJ, and everyone that came on stage to speak. Again, there's really no need to really focus on, and we made this clear, anyone in particular on a personal level. I think we're all trying to, I'm not trying to measure myself with you all. I'm not trying to measure myself against you all. What I think is happening is that we're too busy running around trying to figure out how do we fare against each other and other groups of people who do have a larger stake in harming us are winning. That is NARC and in Cobra. And also, it is also not just NARC and Cobra, but it's the people who allow them a platform. What I can appreciate about what Original was saying is that how do we collectively work in tandem to take down a group of people, which is what I heard also Stiletto saying, but how do we strategically start with one so then we can go after another to actually now show that we have a force behind us because we are in a collective step. That's what I heard my elder say on this stage. That's what I can appreciate about what he was saying. And I think that it is not to ignore that. It calls for a different perspective from all of us to see what we heard. I heard what Roz said she heard when I spoke. But I need to clear things up. Again, I think if it comes from me and you don't care about when it comes from me, if Roz says it, then Roz is important because she can get to the people. If Black says it and it comes from Black and you care about it coming from Black, then he's important because people need to hear him. Do you get what I'm saying to you? I don't have to go after talent and anything that he is saying and doing. I pay attention and I move accordingly because, again, it does not mean that I have to be in lock and step. It means I need to be on code with what is in the best interest of me or the people that are in the city and state where he is. And it was totally clear about the information that was being put forward that it was not all the way correct. His perspective came out that he believed in him supporting something that he thought, let's get it done, let's get it in there, and then we can go back and fight for change. Now you have to see how that's going to fare out. That's why I made the statement in a space before. I said when another particular person was on stage, I do believe that the United Freedmen organization, they will show up. I do believe the people who have the best interest of how language is important on the local, state, and federal level, they're going to show up now. They're definitely going to be in the room because they know that we cannot afford for the people in New York who deserve repair, who are part of the lineage, to not be get their just due. Now, does everybody agree with that? That's on stage? Probably not. But majority of the people in New York, like majority of the people in Boston, like Stiletto just stated, that's not showing up.
Rella,
those are the ones.
Rella, let me say something. I don't mean to cut you off, sister, but I'm gonna let you get back. But I gotta say this right here. You know, we're having a discussion, you know, tonight, and I'm gonna let you get back, Rella. And I'm sorry for cutting you off, but we're having a discussion tonight, guys, and we're talking about some, you know, about reparations on the federal, state, local level. You know, whether you agree with Dr. Darity says or what you don't say. I've been back and forth in this space a couple times. I didn't say anything. A couple times people have been talking, and, you know, I've been back and forth in this space using Oragel for my mouth, rinsing out my mouth because I'm having a tooth problem, using apple cider vinegar and everything else or whatever. So some of the conversations, I haven't heard all of it or whatnot. I feel like everybody in here is educated and old enough that we can come in here and have a discussion without, people taking shots at each other. I wasn't trying to have that. I know there's a lot of beefs and stuff going on, and a lot of these spaces, I'm not in these spaces. So, sometimes stuff spills over, whatever, but, there are intelligent people on all sides, of this reparation movement. So, I'm not trying to get in between any beefs, anything like that. I do want people to come in here, have a scholarly conversation, and leave it at that. Try not to take shots at each other, whatnot. And if you guys, have a certain issue with each other, don't let it spill into the actual Newstoter space, because most spaces I don't even go into. We pretty much, I either go to DJ space. Occasionally I go to black space on the weekend because I'm trying to relax with my kids and stuff like that. So a lot of times I don't even catch his space. So, a lot of this stuff going back and forth. And then people, next thing people sitting up here saying that we're allowing this and we're allowing that, when we're not allowing anything. We have nothing to do with these beefs and anything like that or whatever. So, I've said a couple times tonight in the space, let's keep it on the topic and let's keep it focused. I have respect on both sides. I may not agree with everything people say in here, but I have enough respect for people. So I just want everybody to know, because the space ain't going to go too much longer. Let's try to keep it respectful in here. You don't have to agree with 100% what a person says, but at the same time, there's no need to really get into it. It's not life and death. We're going to have different opinions about things and stuff like that, but we can respect people. And that's all we're trying to have. We're just trying to have a decent dialogue, maybe come to the point that even though we're on opposite ends, we maybe can meet in the middle ground. If we can't meet in the middle ground, no big deal. You go your way, I go my way. But like I say, I have respect, for freedmen. I have respect for people that's in the Negro spirit as well too. I have, people I'm cool with on both sides or whatever. And I try not to get into the actual back and forth between people, because like I say, I hear a lot of good information on both sides. I may not agree with everything people say, but I can respect it. So let's go and finish the night strong, because the conversation was going really, really well. We got a lot of people that's intellectuals in here, pretty sharp people. Let's go ahead, finish tonight strong, and let people let's not take jabs at one another, and let's just try to keep it on the actual information, because that's where it really needs to belong at. But go ahead, Rella. I'm sorry for cutting you off too.
No, and that's essentially where I was going. And so my whole point and premise is, it's not to not recognize that there are things that we don't like and address them. It's to address them and figure out a way that how do we actually now start to get the work done, because you're not getting the people to show up when you need them. And the people you need to show up are actually the constituents. Me and whomever else on social media, for all of us, we've all been in I think in shy of each other for a couple of years now, due to the campaigns and, and getting people in the movement and connecting with each other, right? But the majority of the people who actually vote, those people we are not in touch with. And to be honest, that was one thing that New Negro did mention that I definitely agree with. The work that has to be done in the city, regardless of what you've done and the things that you've done at meeting with legislators and all that great stuff, guess what? I've had the opportunity, because of life experiences and life circumstances, that I realized that being in the valley with people, dealing with people on the ground and actually seeing how harm is actually hitting them, how the lack of resources is hitting them, that's not being vocalized because it's not being experienced. What's being experienced and talked about on this stage, about what Darity is talking about, is all coming from a political sphere. The humanity piece of it, the piece of it where the people are not showing up to realize how much it is important that reparations be streamlined from the local all the way up into the federal, and it has to take the community who vote to be a part of that. That is not being discussed, and it's not being realized, and we're not having that on a granular scale. We're talking about it, but we don't really talk about it. You understand what I'm saying? We're trying to lay that burden in the basket of people who do not have the position to vote in any one of our prospective states, but we have the opportunity to support each other in efforts to get that done. How do you get that done? You got to go into your community. That was the biggest thing. I'm glad Alexis is on the stage, that we realized down in South Carolina, Virginia, California, even in Boston and New York. That is the biggest thing. Delaware. I'm just saying, we're not having that discussion. We're not talking about how many people are actually going in and ready to say, hey, we need to take a trip to Boston to rally the people around what Stilettos and them are doing. We're not doing the same thing in California. Do you see where I'm going? So I'm trying to end the night to say, we know that Darity made his comment and it hits different people who are in proximity with him or have a relationship with him in proximity. I guarantee you guys are going to handle that because Stiletto made it clear. But I think to move the conversation forward is that we realize as adults that we can actually keep moving. We don't have to stay stuck because one person said one thing and it just doesn't fall right. We can keep going because we know the work it tells itself. That's why I can appreciate Original. Original is another elder. No Taxation, another elder who also recognized that what Darity said was a misstep, and we can keep moving. He's not the end or be all. I think of the movement. He's a piece and a part of the movement. I'm just trying to lay that out there. That's it. That was it, pretty much in a nutshell. So if the work that has to be done mainly rests on the shoulders of making sure the voters are well equipped and aware of what's going on, that's the biggest work that we need to do in each particular projects that are being worked on across the country. Getting authority in different areas, that has to be out in the forefront, pretty much. I mean, we can do that and have that conversation at the same time. And it doesn't have to be predicated on whether or not you like me or not. That's all. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Rella. I'm gonna because we got Alexis up here. We're gonna get to the last few speakers for the night because we're gonna get ready to close it out. Stilettos, I know you had your hand up here. Did you want to speak to? You want to speak? Put your hand up.
I just want to correct Rella for one thing. What we've been saying, and I've always said, is that we don't have the attention and the retention of the local people. It's the same thing. Just don't care from their own personal lived experience and what they're going through, and some of the inhumane things that you mentioned. We're aware of them because we're on the ground. We have the same thing. So when we rally people together, educate them, and lay everything out for them, they're just not receptive. And so I don't want you to think that anybody whether it be New York or whether it be Boston, that we're just saying that people do not care about that right now. And it's only a few people that are really at the helm, and we have to make the best decision that we can. And it really feels awful sometimes when I have to make a decision, and every time I make a decision, I'm like, what do my people want me to do? It's a hell of a burden to be in a particular situation, have to make a decision to get this stuff done, and you don't have your soldiers behind you. So you only get one shot with legislators. You only get one shot to get something done. And if you get that opportunity to get it done, you have to take the burden of making that decision and hoping that when you leave that office, your people are behind you. And I can guarantee you it has been done. When I was at a hearing in December for the Massachusetts bill, I got at least 50 text messages asking me about ADOS. I'm in the zone. I'm watching the room. I'm listening to anything everybody says. ADOS was in the room. And you know what people got out of that? Is ADOS taking over Massachusetts bill? I don't even know how they got that out of the conversation. They're distracting me. When I'm in the room, I need to watch everything. I'm listening to everything everybody says. And not one person from social media who was watching the hearing in Boston but never said to me, I'm going to watch the hearing, and guess what? I'm going to testify too. If you can sit and listen to a hearing in Boston, you can testify too. They didn't do that. They were scrutinizing, they were criticizing, and they were doing sidebar conversation. And out of what they seen Reggie from Boston there, they seen ADOS, and they automatically took away from it that ADOS was trying to put their name on the bill and be in control. None of them paid attention to the fact that the room was so much under control, I had to walk out and give myself a pat on the back. They were voting for both bills. both the American Freedmen bill and their bill who had American freedmen in it. They didn't vote for their bill. They didn't even read their bill. Because had they read their bill, it's so as California, where somebody plagiarized it and took the AB 3121 and copied and pasted to create an African bill. They don't pay attention. These are intelligent people, by the way. So what I'm saying is that even though you're saying that we need to help each other, we're both criticizing each other than really helping. I don't need anybody to sit and watch a hearing that I'm in and scrutinize it and blow my phone up while I'm in the middle of watching the room and making sure that I hear what everybody else says, because I got to testify. So now my testimony is totally different from the written testimony because somebody said something that's more important. But that's what I'm saying. They're not helpful. All they do is criticize and sit on the sideline and talk shit. Excuse me. I'm sorry for saying that. So I'm just letting you know that we do understand the humanitarian part of it. We do understand the struggle. I live in the hood. I'm from Roxbury. I've lived in other places, but my foundation is in Roxbury, which is hood. How can I not understand the disparities? However, when we're doing our thing and we're in here and we have a shot to make a difference and we have the attention of the people who make the decision, we're making the decision by ourselves because our people are behind us. So, like taxation said, and the original said, how do we get our people off of social media 24 hours a day and get them out in the community to do something and then come back to social media and use this tool for what it should be used for? We're using social media for everything, but nobody's on the ground, nobody's outside. Nobody's organizing in the communities. Nobody's doing anything to make a profound effect. And the one or two people that are doing it, they're wearing us out. Every time I turn around, there's a criticism. Whether it be New York, whether it be California, whether it be Boston, nobody has anything nice to say. Never has anything nice to say. And not one person who watched that hearing said, Antonia, that was a dynamite job. How the hell did you pull that off? How did you get them to not only vote for your bill for ADOS, but also vote for their bill? And guess what? They both have American freedmen in it, and they're on social media saying they can't stand American freedmen. Did nobody pick up on that?
Hey, Stilettos, real quick, let me go ahead and get to Alexis and Newsman. Go ahead, Alexis. And like I said, we're gonna be I'm gonna get to Alexis, I'm gonna get the Aeon, no taxation, and we're gonna be closing this out for the night.
Hello. Hey, everyone. Great space. Loved it. I joined a little late, so I heard that you have a toothache, and I wanted to ask if anybody had offered a tea bag.
No, I saw you DM me about the tea bag, but no, I didn't. I never heard about the tea bag before.
Okay, so if people know, they know. If you have a toothache and something's going on there, you take a tea bag and you wet it just a little bit and put it over the tooth. What it's going to do is suck out the infection and provide you some relief. Still get to the dentist. Had it happen with my husband. He didn't want to listen to me on a Friday. I was like, sweetie, use this tea bag. Do it. Went to the dentist on Monday. They're like, oh, all the infection's gone. We just do the operation now. So anyway, it'll help relieve the pain.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Alexis. I thought you was getting ready to come up and talk about some reparations, but okay. Appreciate that, Alexis.
I fully support reparations, yes. Yes.
Oh, I already know you do, but thank you. I appreciate you coming up here for that. Aeon, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yes, this indeed was a great space. I'm glad we was able to get some clarification on a lot of stuff, and it was good to speak with Mrs. Stilettos for the first time to kind of get some background. I trust my elder, no taxation. She gives good props to certain people because I'm very quick to use my blog, especially if I'm doing a drag down stuff. But nonetheless, it's nothing personal. I just try and block out anything that I may perceive that may be negative. So I haven't even spoken to anybody. Don't take it as me just whatever. But I just wanted to say for all of us in this fight, in regards to producing justice for our people, nothing suffered and nothing is gained. There's going to be times where, the people that are the most closest to you may try you, and you just got to push through it, especially if you know that you're on the right path and you're doing what you're doing with love and compassion to your people. If your moral compass is still intact, and you haven't been corrupted in any type of way, and you're doing this truly from a just cause, then you shouldn't be getting any pushback from anybody. And I just, hope and pray that we all can seek and produce justice for our people. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, Ayan. I appreciate you tonight. Let me go ahead and get the no taxation. No taxation. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
I got to go back and listen to everything Ayan said. Every time you talk, Ayan, I couldn't hear you. I didn't hear that one thing through the whole spaces, but I'll go back and hear it. And it's probably me. I don't know what's going on. I just want to say to Stiletto's point, people are not using social media effectively. See, if you have that much time on social media, if you have time to spend on social media a few hours, and people do a few hours here, a few hours there, maybe every day they do 2 or 3 hours lunchtime or whatever. That's when work can be done. But I don't think that people understand that social media for us, I ain't talking about everybody else, I'm talking about just us in our particular situation that we in, our economic situation and our political situation. We don't really have time to fool our lives. We really don't. And I tried to tell y'all that last year, but nobody understood me. And half the people didn't want to listen. So here we are, all these months later, trying to play catch up. But whatever, I get it. People are not using social media effectively. And if you want to do a campaign on social media, it takes work and it takes skill and it has to be taught. It's not something you can just pick up and do. It has to be taught because I've done it one time before. And in fact, I did it not too long ago, last year. So if anybody wants to start some kind of social media something and they want it, not me, because I'm through. But I will give you the notes that I have and teach you what I know, and then you can form a group, and I can tell you how to work with it. Now that I will do, but I'm not going to do nothing past that. The other thing is that, if I didn't say Happy New Year to everybody in the room, Happy New Year. I hope 2024 is the most healthy and prosperous year that you have in life for you and your family and your loved ones. Okay? And I'm going to leave it there most.
All right. Thank you. No taxation. DJ, you want to say something before we get ready to close it out?
Next space. Peace.
All right. DJ's got a space coming up, guys. It'll be almost a part 2 plus other topics as well, too. So definitely check that out. We're going to get ready to shut it down for the night. Appreciate everybody that came into the space tonight, guys. Thank you for contributing to the...
Gentlemen.
I'm sorry, somebody say something?
I said thank you, gentlemen, for allowing this platform for us to speak. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. You guys, like I said, if you want to go to, DJ's going to start up another space. What time you starting that space up, DJ?
Right now.
Okay, so DJ's going to start it up. So if you guys want to go ahead and continue the conversation, definitely go ahead and check him out. We're going to get ready to close this one down, and we'll be back next week, guys. So everybody be safe. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you then. Thank you for coming through as always and having a great discussion. Peace.
Come on over, family. Peace.